Chapter 1871. Yun Tian said indifferently. I even dare to say that if we weren't born in the super sects and didn't know about the situation here, we might even be one of the people fighting to the death. After saying that, Yun Tian's white robes fluttered as he turned around and left. The group of youths looked at Yun Tian's back view and couldn't help but feel apprehensive. These words didn't sound nice, but wasn't that the truth? Yun Tian is definitely my #1 enemy. Almost everyone was thinking the same thing. Yun Tian's speech, demeanor, wisdom, foresight, talent, knowledge, and thinking were all very profound. Especially the wisdom of life, it was very thought-provoking. Everyone felt that Yun Tian's words made sense. But because of this, the apprehension in their hearts grew stronger and stronger. Because of these reasons, he did not think of them, or perhaps he thought of them, but he thought of them so deeply. However, Yun Tian thought of them. Could it be that I'm really going to win against such a person in the competition? Seeing Yun Tian leave, a few people's eyes flickered, and they couldn't help but think about it. Young master, aren't you a little too sharp these few days? A worried voice sounded beside Yun Tian. And I know. Yun Tian nodded his head. If you make them feel apprehensive, I'm afraid they will work together to deal with you first. Even if young master isn't afraid, it's still necessary. That voice said worriedly. Haha, that's exactly the effect I want. Yun Tian calmly stepped forward. Once they really think that way, they'll be able to do it. If they really think of it that way, they will lose the qualifications to be my opponent. Because they admit that they are inferior to me in their hearts, that's why they think of it that way. If they do that, would such an opponent still be worthy of being my opponent? Yun Tian smiled faintly. Once they think of it that way, would there still be anything to be afraid of? He tilted his head and asked softly. Young master is wise. This is the principle of subduing the enemy without fighting. That voice came to a realization. Yun Tian didn't say anything and continued walking forward. However, if they really do that, it will be very dangerous for young master's safety. To the young master's safety, it will undoubtedly be. The voice was still somewhat worried. Yun Tian did not reply, remaining silent for a long time. Then he slowly said, if I were to defeat all the heroes of the world at the same time, I would be outnumbered and easily crushed. What more could I ask for in life? The voice fell silent. This idea of Yun Tian's could be said to be extremely bold. It was extremely risky, almost putting ZJ's life at stake. But if he succeeded in the end. However, he would definitely be the one that everyone was looking forward to. However, this path was filled with death. Have you investigated that matter? Yun Tian asked. Not for the time being. Currently, we only know that the Iron Blood Union was defeated by the joint forces of Dreamlike Pavilion and Firmament Gate. Moreover, almost all of their experts were beheaded. The Iron Blood Union is completely finished. The voice said. Why exactly are Dreamlike Veranda and Soaring Firmament Guild going against the Iron Blood Alliance? He didn't hesitate to join hands, especially at such a delicate moment. Yun Tian muttered to himself, not only is he lowering his status, but he's also doing it at such a delicate moment. Moreover, it is highly suspicious. This matter is extremely fishy. That voice was Yun Tian ZJ thinking and not asking ZJ, so he just answered quietly. If Dreamlike Veranda and Soaring Firmament Gate wanted to deal with the Iron Blood Union, they could have done it long ago. Why did they choose to do it at such a time? Yun Tian frowned slightly. This is too much of a coincidence. The soul-suppressing stone incident happened, and the Iron Blood Union was destroyed. If this matter is related to the matter here, would there be such a thing? Let's assume that it has something to do with what happened here. What exactly is it about? If the source is here, then did the Iron Blood Union do something? Did they anger those two big sects, causing them to use such a thunderous method of extermination? I heard that on the day of the auction, the Iron Blood Union's third alliance master offended Chu Yang and slapped him? And hit Chu Yang with a palm? Yun Tian raised his head and pondered. His delicate chin was raised high. This is the person that the Iron Blood Union really offended here. As for the others, they only felt aggrieved. However, the Iron Blood Union didn't target them, so it's fine for them to feel aggrieved for a while. This is human nature. It's unwise to make a strong enemy just for this kind of grievance. If it were me, I would also feel aggrieved. Hence, the only person that the Iron Blood Union really offended is Chu Yang. And only Chu Yang has a reason to kill the Iron Blood Union. But Chu Yang's strength isn't enough. Could it be because Chu Yang asked for it? Or was it a request? That's why the two big sects destroyed the Iron Blood Union? But is there such a reason? To destroy a super sect for a completely insignificant person? If the two big sects have a request from Chu Yang, then it can make the unreasonable reasonable. Yes, after that auction, Shuexian and Hai Mingbo had a long talk with Chu Yang. On the night after the talk, the people from the Iron Blood Union were all killed by the Ling Xiao sect. After that, Shuexian and Hai Mingbo went to find Chu Yang again. Yun Tian spoke faster and faster. 2 days later, the Iron Blood Union met with a disaster and was completely destroyed. Also, the experts of the Iron Blood Union were all beheaded without exception. Since the heads were deliberately chopped off, there must be some use for these heads. Perhaps they were given to someone to kill, or perhaps they were given to someone to kill. If that's the case, then Chu Yang played a role in this matter? Yuan Tian muttered to himself. If Chu Yang heard Yun Tian's muttering, he would definitely break out in cold sweat. This Yun Tian's intelligence was really terrifying to the point of making people panic. If a heaven-level expert collected the heads from the Iron Blood Union headquarters and used spatial equipment to carry them, how many days would it take to rush here? I want the exact time. Yun Tian pondered and asked. If a peak heaven-level expert rushed here without rest, it would take 2.5 days plus 1 night. That voice pondered for a moment before replying in a low voice. 2.5 days. Yes, the Iron Blood Alliance was destroyed 4.5 days ago. After that, the two great sects did everything they could to exterminate the Iron Blood Alliance. With the strength and influence of the two great sects, I estimate that they will need more than a day to complete the mission. There would also be many fish that slipped through the net. Removing more than a day's worth of corpses, and then collecting the heads would require at least half a day's worth of effort. Afterwards, an expert rushed over at full speed, arriving at the infinite boundless mountains and purple cloud city last night. A look of understanding appeared on Yun Tian's handsome face. And in the wee hours of this morning, when the sky had just brightened, Hai Mingbo could not wait to go to the Chu clan courtyard, right? Yes. In the past, when he went to the Chu clan courtyard, it was always with Shuexian. Why was it only Hai Mingbo this time? Could it be that the matter of the heads was not collected together? Instead, it was taken by each sect? Yun Tian turned and asked. Yes. According to the reports, the two great sects were indeed fighting for themselves. In the meantime, it was said that there was even a small conflict over the heads. Yun Tian nodded slowly. That's right. Therefore they had to separate this time. That's why Hai Mingbo secretly went. Yes, that's right. When Hai Mingbo came out, he just happened to meet Shuexian. Yun Tian smiled as if mocking him. No matter what, Shuexian is a woman. When a woman goes out, no matter how hurried she is, she still has to dress up. And this time Hai Mingbo got there first. However, Shuexian did not dress up for long this time, and she should have left immediately after dressing up. In the meantime, she did not delay at all. Therefore, she just happened to meet Hai Mingbo when he was going out. If that's the case, the two great sects were very anxious about this matter, and they attached great importance to it. When Hai Mingbo met Shuexian at the door, his expression was a little strange, and Shuexian also looked very unnatural. Moreover, the two of them seemed to be on guard at that moment. This means that there was some kind of competition between them. And the competition was probably about the number of heads of the Iron Blood Alliance. When Shuexian left the Chu clan courtyard, she looked very angry, but there was also a sense of relief. Am I right? Indeed. This expression showed that Shuexian had achieved her initial goal, but she was not very satisfied. If that's the case, all the suspicious points point to that Chu Yang. In other words, the two great sects killed people and chopped off their heads. And these heads were all sent to Chu Yang in the end. For the sake of him? Yun Tian's face slowly changed from hesitation and speculation to certainty. These heads should be exchanged for something extremely useful and beneficial to the two great sects. The result of this matter should be more or less like this. Because there were such benefits, Chu Yang was wronged, and the two great sects destroyed the Iron Blood Alliance? If that's the case, everything makes sense. But what kind of thing is it? Since the two great sects made a move at the same time, and even had conflicts over the heads, it must not be a small matter. Moreover, something that could make an otherworldly sect like the dreamlike veranda go on a killing spree. I'm afraid it's not something ordinary. I believe that even if there's a blood feud between the two sects, it might not be so. Chapter 1872. For any sect, the most important thing is always survival and future as well as future prospects. Therefore, the things they are asking for must be related to this. Only this way can the otherworldly Meng Shen kill people like a mad dog. And they don't care about the consequences. This kind of thing is useful to any sect. Therefore, I believe that the things Chu Yang gave us are not only useful to them, but also to us. Although we still don't know what is going on, we must get this item and benefits. If we can get it, we must get more than those two sects. That's right. Zhang Ruiqiang said. Yun Tian raised his eyebrows and ordered decisively, the number of experts under the Iron Blood Alliance should be more than 20,000, close to 30,000. There is no lack of experts among them. With such haste, I believe that the other two sects won't be able to kill all of them even if they use all their strength. Pass down my order. All the experts in the Eastern Royal Heavens should put down the matters here and focus on killing the remaining members of the Iron Blood Alliance. Chop off their heads and bring them here. The more the better. Following Yun Tian's analysis, he gave a sudden order that was filled with bloodshed. Kong's voice was obviously taken aback. Young master, shouldn't we reconsider this matter? All of this is based on an illusory premise. If that assumption is not valid, then everything will not be valid. Our actions will be in vain. Yun Tian shook his head and said decisively, there's no need to reconsider. Even if the assumption is not valid, what's the point? It's just killing a few people. If it's useful, then so be it. But if it's useful, then it will be of great use. Just do as I say. Moreover, even if it's useless, the Iron Blood Alliance has a bad reputation. If we kill them, it will be a righteous action. It will only make our reputation more famous. There's no harm in it. However, if we send too many people, young master's safety here. That voice was a little hesitant. I'm safe here. I'll go and find Chu Yang for a chat in the next few days. Chu Yang is probably within 1,000 miles of Purple Cloud City. The safest place. Yun Tian took a deep breath and said, right now, I have a faint feeling that this Chu Yang is my greatest enemy in this life. That voice was obviously disdainful. Chu Yang is not even a disciple of any sect, and has not undergone any training. Even my master is you. Isn't young master thinking too highly of him? Yun Tian's expression darkened. Shut up. An invisible majestic aura emanated from Murun. Na Kong's voice suddenly became extremely terrified. Yes, yes. Chu Yang is very scary. What's scary is that you can't even tell. Yun Tian's face was gloomy as he said indifferently, if my guess is correct, Chu Yang destroyed the Iron Blood Alliance because the Iron Blood Alliance was guilty of heinous crimes. But secondly, it was because that greedy wolf had hit Chu Yang. I angered him. Chu Yang destroyed a big sect for such a matter. How could such a person not be terrifying? If we become enemies with him, how should we guard against him? Yes. That voice was filled with admiration. Destroying a big sect for such a small matter. Indeed, he would seek revenge for the smallest grievance to the extreme. And usually, once such a person became an enemy, he would be the most terrifying enemy. Because he was incomparably vengeful. If he did not succeed in his revenge, he would never give up. This was an opponent that was enough to give anyone in any sect a headache. Also, with his current lowly and weak status, he actually managed to get two big sects to go all out at the same time. How could an ordinary person do such a thing? If it was me, would I be able to get Sky Sword Alliance and Earth's Heart Pavilion to go all out at the same time because of me? Yun Tian said coldly. I'm afraid not. The Alliance might be able to, but Earth's Heart Pavilion would definitely not buy it. That's right. I'm the #1 in Sky Sword Alliance's younger generation, the leader of Extreme Heaven's younger generation. Even I can't do such a thing. But Chu Yang does not belong to any sect. He's as insignificant as an ant, but he can get two big sects to go all out. How can such a person be underestimated? Yun Tian's voice was very strict. The person in the dark was sweating profusely and did not dare to speak. Yun Tian walked a few steps and said, also, I asked you to investigate the matter regarding Chu Yang's wife. Have you found anything? You. That voice was a little ashamed. But it's still very strange. Chu Yang is young and handsome. Why would he find an ugly woman to be his wife? This is the most puzzling point. Yun Tian's face became even more gloomy. He sneered, ugly? Is she very good looking? With a yellowish face, other than her figure, she has no other redeeming qualities. That voice was a little disdainful. Sigh. Yun Tian let out a long sigh and said, if your attitude was on me, I'm afraid I wouldn't even know how I died. He pondered for a while and said, since that's the case, answer a few of my questions. Please ask, young master, that voice said respectfully. And the first question. How many days has it been since Chu Yang came up? His whereabouts can be said to be clear at a glance. Have you found out that he chased after a woman? Or that he married a woman? or even that he had sex with a woman before. Yun Tian said coldly. It's completely based on your information. Since it's you, where did this wife of yours come from? This? I don't know. That shadow's head was covered in sweat. Since this woman is the Chu clan's mistress, she must be Chu Yang's most trusted person. Would he casually marry a woman to control the clan? Is Chu Yang that kind of person? No. That voice was even more embarrassed. Still the same question. Since you didn't find her in Xixia City, where did this woman come from? I don't know. And this woman's face is not good looking. It's a yellowish skin caused by malnutrition. With Chu Yang's financial resources, would he let his wife malnourish? Obviously not. This woman controls the Chu clan's mistress in an orderly manner. She has both methods and schemes. Can an ordinary woman do that? No. This woman's every movement is full of aura. Even I may not be able to do that. Even in the face of a peerless expert, she is still neither servile nor overbearing. In fact, she is even calmer and more at ease. Such a woman has a noble temperament and even a kind of oppressive aura. Can an ordinary family raise such a woman? No. Don't say that an ordinary family can't. Even in the entire Heaven Imperial Court, there may not be many families who can raise such a woman. Yun Tian coldly snorted, how can this woman have such an ugly face in such a family? Yes. How can a rich and noble family find an ugly daughter-in-law? Which one of them isn't a beauty? Generation after generation, how many of them would be ugly? Could it be that a beautiful mother actually gave birth to an ugly daughter? Although there is such a possibility, but the probability is very small. You should know. Yes. So, this woman's background is definitely not simple. Although I can't tell how she disguised herself, I'm certain that this face is fake. Yun Tian said with certainty. This woman must be a peerless beauty. And not an ordinary peerless beauty. She must be a peerless beauty with status, background, aura, ability and schemes. Only a beauty who can bring disaster to a country can be like this. Precisely because of this, Chu Yang wants to cover her face. Because with Chu Yang's current strength, he can't protect such a beauty. If that's the case, this woman can't be underestimated. With this woman around, Chu Yang will be much harder to deal with. Once his wings are fully grown. Yes. Yun Tian silently walked out a few steps. Urun revealed a sly smile. Among those people who is lustful. The person in the dark pondered for a while and said, it is said that Mo Yun Tian cultivates a dual cultivation technique. He is extremely lustful. And he knows the art of seducing women. It is said that any woman can't hide in front of him. Yun Tian pondered for a while and said, think of a way to let Yuan Shu meet Chu Yang's wife. Yes. In this way, Chu Yang's hidden strength can be completely exposed. I believe that no man can endure this kind of thing, especially a man like Chu Yang. Yun Tian revealed a cruel smile and said, since Chu Yang is so scary, then before his wings are fully grown, think of a way to chop off one of his arms. This is a little despicable. The person in the dark seemed to be a little persistent. Despicable? What's the use of being noble when we are defeated in the hands of others? Yun Tian said coldly. The winner is the king. Yes. Although that Yuan Shu is lustful, he is also a very cautious person. This is not easy to make use of. The person in the dark pondered. Of course, if Yuan Shu is not cautious, how can he become a youth leader? However, his biggest disadvantage was that he had a high standard. Ordinary people, except for a few youth leaders and the contestants of the big sex, he doesn't care about anyone else. This is his weakness. And ever since Yuan Shu came here, he didn't go to see Chu Yang. What? First, he doesn't have my intelligence. Second, he has the guidance of his old enemy. So, he doesn't know that Chu Yang is our old enemy. Of course, I won't tell him about this. And the other two will definitely not be stupid enough to tell Yuan Shu about this. That's why he didn't do it. Under such circumstances, Chu Yang is just a small character that can be trampled on casually in the eyes of Yuan Shu. Would a powerhouse with a high position care about such a small fry? No. Chapter 1873. Yun Tian's face was cold. Moreover, we can't practice martial arts these days because of that mysterious expert's absorption of spiritual energy. Of course, it's even more impossible for Yuan Shedu to practice martial arts. And because of the soul-suppressing stone incident, he didn't bring a female companion. He can't practice dual cultivation either. He's begging for a woman now, but he can't find a woman with a pure Yin body. He's as anxious as a hungry wolf in a cage. If he finds such a woman, he. Yun Tian's laughter was especially cold. I'm afraid that Yuanshu Road will drag you down with it. That voice said, novel chapters are updated the fastest. Well, with Yuan Sheda's character he will suspect me. Let's act according to the situation. Tonight I'll invite Yuan Sheda to drink. Yes. Don't forget to arrange today's matter as soon as possible. Yes. In the tribulation space, Chu Yang had absorbed all the death energy, leaving nothing behind. At this moment he was meditating with the sword spirit. In front of them there was a stalk of resurrection grass. It was the one with the best effects in the oldest age. Since Wu Qianqian had sacrificed so much, Chu Yang wouldn't have any regrets about the important matter that involved her waking up. As long as there was a good one he wouldn't use a bad one. He wanted to welcome Wu Qianqian's return with the most complete preparation, the most gentle attitude, the most solemn attitude and the most cherished mood. Are you ready? Chu Yang asked. Yes. The sword spirit slowly exhaled. Let's start. She's been sleeping for too long. Chu Yang brought the sword spirit and the required elixirs to a small room at the side. In the room there was a bed with a brocade canopy. Wu Qianqian was like a sleeping beauty, lying quietly with a tranquil expression. What do I need to do? Tell me everything in detail. I don't want any mistakes. Chu Yang asked quietly. It's not very troublesome to treat her. First, make a super heavy elixir and let her take it. Use the majestic elixir to stimulate her latent vitality. Then, use the maximum amount of energy in her elixir field. Step by step, it entered her body and filled every part of her body, leaving nothing behind. The sword spirit said solemnly, also you have to be careful. In this place where energy was being output, it's best if she doesn't wear any clothes because there is a large amount of death aura in her body. When the death aura is expelled by her chi, it will leak out. If there is any obstruction, it will cause the death aura to flow back. If the death aura is incomplete, it will cause serious consequences. Since it's so serious, will there be a lot of side effects? Chu Yang asked. He frowned. You should have thought of this beforehand. Moreover, the sword spirit had not mentioned it before. It's not just a very serious side effect. What I said just now is the most conservative way of saying it. Miss Wu's body is extremely weak, or should I say that her body has completely lost its vitality. Such a situation will very likely attract the death aura back. Once the death aura surges back, it will be too late to stop it. Then there will be no way to save her. Even if you have the super heavy elixir and the resurrection grass, it will be useless. You have to keep this in mind. You can't be careless. The sword spirit's tone was very serious. Chu Yang nodded in understanding. Then a thought flashed through his mind and he felt relieved. This is not a problem for Dong Shuebing, and he will not be careless when treating Wu Qianqian. Speaking of which, Chu Yang was no longer an inexperienced young man. Moreover, after Wu Qianqian fell into a coma, Chu Yang would give her a full body massage every 2 days to maintain the vitality of her muscles. Moreover, after every massage he would give Wu Qianqian a bath. It could be said that Chu Yang had touched every part of Wu Qianqian's body more than once. To him there was no longer any psychological barrier. Since he had done this, it meant that he had decided that Wu Qianqian was his woman. Moreover, how could he let down Wu Qianqian's feelings for him? Not to mention that Chu Yang did not treat Wu Qianqian very well. Chu Yang nodded and asked, "What's next?" Then you have to touch her skin and use your own vitality to completely remove the death aura in her body. Or you can absorb it. It's best to absorb it. This is safer. The sword spirit took a deep breath and said, "This is equivalent to dual cultivation. It's even a step further. Am I right?" Chu Yang nodded. During the treatment, her body must always be in a suspended state. She can't lie down or sit, because no matter if she lies down or sits, there will be some parts of her body that are connected to other things. That will be more of an obstruction than clothes. The sword spirit solemnly warned. Yes, I know. Chu Yang nodded. Also, after the death aura is expelled, Miss Wu's body will be like an empty shell, supported by the medicinal effects of the pills. However, that state can only be maintained for a short period of time. During this period of time, her vital signs will appear, but it is only a conditioned response to the medicinal effects of the pills and cannot be accurately predicted. This period of time will only last for a short period of time. During this period of time, her vital signs will appear, but it is actually a conditioned response to the medicinal effects of the pills and cannot be accurately predicted. During this period of time, you must prepare half of the resurrection grass for her to consume. This process cannot be brought forward or delayed, and it must be timed. As for the other half, you must catalyze the medicinal effects and inject it into her body. With this, her life and consciousness will be revived in an instant. What's more, during this period of time, you must prepare half of the resurrection grass for her to consume. This process cannot be brought forward or delayed, and it must be timed. As for the other half, you must catalyze the medicinal effects and inject it into her body. She will be able to recover from this. The sword spirit's voice was very heavy. You can't make any mistakes in this process. Any mistakes will lead to eternal damnation. Chu Yang's forehead was sweating. What will happen if I'm slow? She will truly die. Her soul will scatter. The sword spirit said. Chu Yang swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The treatment this time is using the most powerful and the most difficult resources. You must forcefully seize back her vitality. You only have a moment of opportunity. If you don't seize this moment, her soul will immediately scatter. Even maintaining her current state will be impossible. Therefore you must be careful. The sword spirit said in a heavy voice. Chu Yang's face was gloomy. His heart was in turmoil. He looked at Wu Qianqian's unconscious face, and felt an indescribable heartache. He took a deep breath and said, "Since I can't retreat, I can only try my best to move forward. I will give it my all." The sword spirit nodded silently. He understood Chu Yang's mood very well. He understood the contradiction in Chu Yang's heart. At least, there will always be hope in my heart if I maintain the current state. At least, I can still see this beautiful face every time I come in. Her life will still exist. So I won't lose her. But this is too cruel for Wu Qianqian. But I will never have the chance to see you again if I fail. Then I will never have the chance to see you again. Everything has a what if. No matter who it is, even if it's a small matter with great certainty. But no one can say that it's foolproof. Moreover, this is an unprecedented and risky treatment. Even if the preparations are sufficient and complete, there are still risks involved. In fact, it's a huge risk. Wu Qianqian was completely unaware at this moment. All the pressure was being shouldered by Chu Yang alone. It was because the sword spirit understood everything that he explained to Chu Yang in detail. He only wanted to help Chu Yang a little and help him share some of the pressure from Chu Yang. You can go out. You can tell me step by step. Chu Yang gazed at Wu Qianqian. He didn't even turn his head to look at him. You want me to go out? You don't want me to stay and help you? The sword spirit was stunned. You don't want to go out? You want to stay and help me? Chu Yang was stunned. Don't tell me you want to watch me undress my woman? Are you helping me? Or are you forcing me to kill you? The sword spirit stared blankly for a long time. Finally, he felt that something was wrong. Although ZJ is just a spirit, it doesn't seem right for him to just watch. If he's killed by the sword master because of this reason, it'll be too unfair. It'll be an eternal injustice. You're so thoughtful. I can't help you here. The sword spirit grinned. Since you can't help me, why don't you hurry up and leave? Chu Yang glared. With a whoosh, the sword spirit disappeared. Chu Yang took a deep breath. Then he sat down cross-legged and started to circulate the heaven-splitting divine technique. Other than adjusting himself to the best state, his heart also became as calm as ice. His heart was like still water without any ripples. Then he slowly walked to the bed and gazed at Wu Qianqian. After a long time he finally opened his mouth and said softly, Qianqian, you're about to wake up. What if you see ZJ in the heaven-splitting imperial court when you wake up? Will you be happy? He laughed softly, bent down and started to undress Wu Qianqian. He said softly, I know that you're a person who loves cleanliness. So, I've been washing your hair every 2 days. For you, I've done all these things that I've never done before. Chu Yang had undressed Wu Qianqian countless times. Even the clothes that Wu Qianqian was wearing now were put on by Chu Yang. It could be said that he was extremely familiar with the whole process. In the blink of an eye, a jade-like beautiful body appeared in front of Chu Yang. It was curvy in the front and curvy in the back. To be honest, every time a sword master saw such a naked body, he couldn't help but feel his heart palpitate. No matter how many times he had done it, it was still unavoidable. However, this time Chu Yang's heart did not waver at all. Not even a drop of lust was left in his heart. Chapter 1874. He gently hugged Wu Qianqian's naked body in his arms. Thinking that something was wrong, he quickly put her down. Then he quickly took off her clothes as well. At this moment, the two of them were completely naked. Chu Yang held Wu Qianshan in his arms and slowly activated the power of his life dantian. Surging life force slowly appeared and lingered around the two of them. Then Chu Yang placed the super heavy pill in his mouth and placed it against Wu Qianshan's little mouth. Using the tip of his tongue, he gently pried open Wu Qianshan's unconscious teeth and sent the super heavy pill over. After the super heavy pill was no longer enveloped by Chu Yang's layered heaven divine technique, it instantly melted in Wu Qianshan's mouth and turned into a warm current that flowed into Wu Qianshan's body. The super heavy pill that melted in her mouth saved her a lot of trouble. At the same time, Chu Yang did not move his lips away, because the majestic life force was flowing from his mouth into Wu Qianshan's mouth. Their bodies were close together. All of the life force and spiritual energy that originated from Chu Yang was flowing into Wu Qianshan's body. With a slight sound, Wu Qianshan's and Chu Yang's hair flew up due to the power of life force. It floated in the air. A faint layer of redness gradually appeared on Wu Qianshan's snow-white body. The enormous medicinal efficacies rapidly passed through her body in an unstoppable manner. They broke through the stagnant and nearly solidified meridians in her body. If Wu Qianshan was awake, she would undoubtedly be in extreme pain. However, she was not awake at this moment. She did not even have the slightest bit of consciousness. In a sense, this could be considered a blessing in disguise. The current her. She could only passively allow the meridians in her body to be attacked continuously. With the strong impact of the huge medicinal power, the meridians were continuously broken and reformed by the medicinal power. This cycle repeated. This violent process was paused due to the severe blockage of the meridians. Although the process was slow, it was progressing layer by layer without any delay. Chu Yang's divine sense followed this progressive and reformed process in Wu Qianshan's body. Everyone could see that he was covered in cold sweat. This kind of pain, if a person's mind was still clear, they would be in a deep coma. But as long as this person was conscious, he would definitely not be able to take it. The unconscious Wu Qianshan was lying quietly in Chu Yang's arms. Her face still had that kind of contented and melancholy smile on it. It was a peaceful and concerned smile. Finally. This long and painful process had finally come to an end. All the meridians in Wu Qianshan's body. Wu Qianshan's meridians had been thoroughly connected. Or, it should be said that her meridians had been completely reorganized. Wu Qianshan's meridians had become incomparably smooth roads with the help of the enormous medicinal efficacies and the nourishment of Chu Yang's life energy. It could be said that since the beginning of human history, there was no one whose meridians were smoother than Wu Qianshan's. Even Mo Qingwu and Chu Yang, who had cultivated the layered heaven divine technique and had many fortuitous encounters, were unable to do so. They were all inferior. However, Wu Qianshan's body was still deathly still. There was no sign of life. It could be faintly felt. The life energy and medicinal efficacies were surging in her meridians. Entwined with them there was also a thick black death aura. The death aura was still struggling. It was making threatening gestures and doing everything it could to resist. At this moment, the life energy and medicinal efficacies met in her dantian. Chu Yang's enormous spiritual energy poured in. Wu Qianshan's originally expressionless face flushed red. She opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood that was supposed to be bright red was now reddish-black. There were dark purple blood clots mixed in. Chu Yang sensed that Wu Qianshan's heart was beating softly from where she was leaning against Zijie's chest. This was the moment. Chu Yang waved his hand, and the jade-like half of the resurrection grass that he had prepared earlier entered Wu Qianshan's mouth. Immediately, Chu Yang used his mouth to tightly press against Wu Qianshan's sandalwood mouth. A stream of extremely pure spiritual energy completely sealed off the resurrection grass's path of dissipation, and violently rushed down along her meridians. At the same time, the other half of the grass turned into the purest spiritual energy in Chu Yang's palm. Chu Yang patted Wu Qianshan's dantian and locked it there. A strange situation appeared on Wu Qianshan's snow-white and tender body. Starting from her neck, the original snow-white color turned into a mournful pink. The area was still expanding rapidly. A patch of bright pink quickly occupied the original snow-white territory and kept spreading downwards. Starting from Wu Qianshan's dantian, her entire lower body and both her legs also turned pink the moment the other half of the spiritual energy entered her body. It also spread upwards in the opposite direction. One on top and one on bottom, advancing side by side and gradually converging. Looking at the speed of both sides, it was completely predictable that these two patches of pink would converge at Wu Qianshan's heart. As long as they successfully converged, it would be the time of great success. Chu Yang was fully focused and did not dare to slack off. The spiritual energy in his life force Dantian gushed out crazily. In the death aura Dantian, other than absorbing the death aura from Wu Qianqian's body bit by bit, it was also constantly transforming his own death aura into life force energy and injecting it back into the life force Dantian. It did its best to prolong the continuous output of life force energy from the life force Dantian. The two patches of pink were advancing slowly and methodically. Wu Qianqian's heartbeat also gradually changed from once in a while to a slow and continuous heartbeat. Although the number of heartbeats was still much lower than a normal person's, but the characteristics of life were starting to recover in her body. Now it was the most crucial moment. Success or failure depended on this. The death aura in Wu Qianqian's meridians, under the effect of the strong medicinal effects and the life force energy, quickly condensed to a point and was on the verge of being expelled. As long as this death aura was expelled, Wu Qianqian's resurrection would not be hindered. However, at this moment Chu Yang's mind unexpectedly recalled a few sentences. Xiao Yun and Mo Qing Wu on the path of 3 lives, can mend the heavens. Yin and Yang need to cherish the beauty. Chu Yang, who was fully focused and did not dare to be careless, could not help but be distracted at this moment. These few sentences Chu Yang had already thought about it for a long time. In fact, this was also one of the reasons why he had to bring Tai Budian up. Xiao Yun and Mo Qing Wu. Now this sentence had confirmed one meaning. Mo Qing Wu had arrived at the clouds. But what was the other meaning? Mo Qing Wu? Don't Mo Qing Wu? Was he advising her to be cautious? Not to be young and frivolous? Or was he warning Mo Qing Wu not to do anything rash? Yin and Yang need to cherish the beauty. This sentence also proved that Wu Qianqian was having sex because of Chu Yang. She was so close to being separated by life and death. Yes, it was not just a matter of yin and yang but a matter of yin and yang. Yin and yang need to cherish the beauty. This prophecy or disaster could be said to have passed. However, there was also the sentence, on the path of 3 lives, can mend the heavens. What did that mean? Chu Yang had brought Tai Budian with him to avoid this prophecy. If one of them was in Heaven Imperial Court and the other was in the heavenly realm, and something happened to them, Chu Yang would not be able to do anything about it. At least for now, Chu Yang could not do anything about it. If I want to mend the heavens, why do I have to go to the path of 3 lives? Chu Yang definitely did not want to experience the pain of the path of 3 lives. He would definitely not let Tai Budian endure it. That was really too painful. With Mo Qing Wu's past and present life, and Wu Qianqian's separation of yin and yang, this was enough. I really don't need to go through the reincarnation of the path of 3 lives. Urun's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that something is going to happen to Tai Budian? She will experience some kind of change. Chu Yang frowned. If that's the case, I still have to be more vigilant during this period of time. My current strength is still not enough. If I reach the heavenly realm, perhaps I won't have to worry about it anymore. But now, Chu Yang was thinking in his heart. Coincidentally, at this moment Wu Qianqian, who was hugging Chu Yang's chest, suddenly jerked. Immediately after, an abnormally dense aura of death emanated from her body. At the same time, some greenish-purple fog slowly seeped out from her skin. Chu Yang focused and did not dare to be careless. He used all his vitality to expel this aura of death. In order to prevent any backflow of the aura of death, he simply used the multiplication heaven divine technique and sucked the aura of death into his dantian. After circulating the technique, he converted it into vitality and re-injected it into Wu Qianqian's body. This originally came from Wu Qianqian's body and could be said to be the elements of Wu Qianqian's body. Although the aura of death formed by these elements would only bring about negative effects, it still came from Wu Qianqian. Now that it had been converted by Chu Yang's multiplication heaven divine technique, although its elements were different, its essence was not changed. Therefore, it was very easy for it to merge with Wu Qianqian's body without any obstruction. Wu Qianqian's motionless body slowly trembled. The long eyelashes of her tightly shut eyes trembled as if she wanted to open them with all her might. Or maybe it was because she did not have the strength. Wu Qianqian let out a moan. Although this moan was weak to Chu Yang, it was like the sound of nature. The sword spirit, who had been standing outside worriedly, also heard this moan and finally let out a long sigh. My mother, it's finally done. Since this matter is over, I have to hurry back. There's still a lot of aura of death waiting for me there. The sword spirit transmitted a thought to Chu Yang. Then he did some calculations and said anxiously, oh no. An entire day has passed. Now, I really don't know what's going on in the boundless mountains. Not good. Chapter 1875. Chu Yang did not have the time to answer the sword spirit, because there was a huge surprise waiting for him. Everything else was not important. Wu Qianqian finally opened her eyes. The moment she opened her eyes, she met Chu Yang's eyes. They were filled with anxiety. It was a pair of eyes that looked like a new life. Chu Yang was instantly immersed in this pair of eyes. Wu Qianqian's eyes were wide open. It was as if she was in a dream. She looked at Chu Yang in disbelief. Her eyes were full of affection and disbelief. Her long eyelashes fluttered wildly. I'm not dreaming," Wu Qianqian said in a low voice. Chu Yang was finally relieved. Wu Qianqian's voice was not weaker than an ordinary person's. It was obvious that even if she had not fully recovered, she was much better. Of course, how can this be a dream? Chu Yang gazed at her. Their eyes were almost touching. They could clearly feel each other's hot breath as they spoke. Wu Qianqian looked at Chu Yang in a daze. The corners of her mouth curled up. It seemed as if she wanted to laugh. But she succeeded in the end. Instead, she opened her small mouth to cry. Then tears silently filled her eyes, and trickled down her cheeks like a broken string of pearls. Then she started to sob silently. Although she was crying, she still could not bear to close her eyes. She stubbornly stared at Chu Yang with her eyes wide open. She was afraid that if she closed her eyes and opened them again, the face she loved so much would disappear. Chu Yang, who knew her feelings, hugged her tightly. He also did not want to let go. He was so touched. His heart was filled with warmth and gratitude. At this moment, not only Wu Qianqian, who had just woken up, noticed that Chu Yang was wearing clothes. She also knew that Chu Yang had completely ignored it. The two of them were honest with each other, embracing each other in the most private way possible. Chu Yang also remembered the sword spirit's instructions. Wu Qianqian's body was suspended in the air. Her feet were off the ground. Her entire weight was hanging on Chu Yang's body. The two looked at each other like this. They were both overjoyed. Wu Qianqian's emotions calmed down after a long while. Then she looked at Chu Yang affectionately. He asked, "Is this really real?" There was still a strong sense of uncertainty in his voice. It is the greatest consolation to be with the beloved in her long and everlasting sleep. However, Wu Qianqian had lost so much that she didn't dare to believe that everything in front of her was real. Really? It's true. Chu Yang looked at her and nodded with certainty. Wu Qianqian suddenly covered her mouth with her hand and started to cry. That pair of beautiful eyes was finally willing to close, but because of the bitterness of the surprise and the sourness of her eyes, and because she didn't dare to close them for too long, the tears actually flowed out more and more. Tears gushed out like a fountain. "Thank God. Thank the earth," Wu Qianqian murmured. She hugged Chu Yang tightly, and leaned her head against Chu Yang's chest in satisfaction. Then she softly said, "Chu Yang, I once made up my mind." "My mind?" "When I was in a coma, I once thought that if I woke up one day I would say something to you. Something that I had long wanted to say to you, but I didn't have the courage to say." Wu Qianqian raised her head and looked at Chu Yang. She didn't blink and said seriously, "Chu Yang, Qianqian likes you." Chu Yang suddenly closed his eyes. He only felt that the softest part of his heart had been hit hard. It was a sour and tender feeling. Scenes of the past flashed past his mind, and they were right in front of his eyes. It turned out that his beloved had already left an indelible mark in his heart. It was just that he had completely neglected it in the past. Heavenly Armament Pavilion, that black robe, that ferocious mask, as well as that black hair behind the mask, that unparalleled beauty. Before she left, she sent over a huge package. Inside it were all the black robes that Wu Qianqian had sewn together. How many robes were there? At the bottom of every black robe, there was a slight protrusion that wasn't eye-catching. That was the heart of a young girl. There were a few words embroidered on every black robe. "Chu Yang, Qianqian likes you." The devastating beauty of the ninja sect turned into a black robe. Her icy heart and jade bones became the masked person for the monarch. The long hair behind the gold mask fluttered in the wind, and her eyes were full of tenderness. Chu Yang saw that day again. Chu Yang slapped away the bottom of the black robe, and there, the words made of hair quietly appeared on the stone slab. "Chu Yang, Qianqian likes you." Scenes of the past flashed past his eyes. At that moment, Chu Yang felt as if he had gone through 3 lifetimes. Chu Yang suddenly opened his eyes, and what he saw was Wu Qianqian's fervent eyes, with some uneasiness, fear, shyness, and a trace of sadness in the depths of her eyes, as if she had foreseen Chu Yang's rejection. Wu Qianqian's fervent eyes slowly dimmed, and the light in her eyes slowly retracted. That kind of inferiority and self-pity? Senior Wu. I like you too. Chu Yang couldn't help but hug her tightly. I like you too, Senior Wu Qianqian. Wu Qianqian's eyes widened in surprise, and the sadness in the depths of her eyes turned into a completely overwhelmed surprise. She didn't have much hope in the first place, but the great joy and sorrow after death made her a little unbalanced. She regretted it the moment she spoke. She was afraid that she would lose ZJ forever. But when she heard Chu Yang's reply, it was as if a bolt of lightning had lit up her gloomy sky. It completely lit up her gloomy sky. So, it's not that I don't want it, it's not that I don't care. She trembled as she looked at Chu Yang, tears streaming down her face and tears of joy. She hugged him tightly. Chu Yang, thank you for liking me. Thank you for liking me. I'm so happy. I want to cry. Chu Yang's heart ached and he was very agitated. This poor girl, her life's wish was actually so humble. Her love was so real, so pure, so deep, but she was still so nervous. She had given all of her love to him, and she had no regrets from the beginning to the end. She actually had to wholeheartedly thank her lover for saying that she liked him. Why did she have to do this? What kind of deep love was this? What did Chu Yang do to deserve this kind of love from her? Then he was elated. She hugged ZJ with such great strength just now. Could it be that her body had completely recovered? Even his cultivation had been restored? Actually, Chu Yang had neglected a very important point. When Wu Qianqian was in a life-or-death situation, her cultivation wasn't that high. Not to mention the current Chu Yang, even the Chu Yang before he ascended the heavenly imperial court, the difference between the two of them was extremely huge. Even with Chu Yang's current cultivation, he was still shocked by Wu Qianqian's strength. One could imagine how great Wu Qianqian's strength was now. Gently patting Wu Qianqian's smooth back, Chu Yang comforted her softly. It's okay, it's all over now. We're all fine now, Wu Qianqian hid ZJ's pretty face in his arms and nodded vigorously. Uran exclaimed in surprise, why is my body so? Then she screamed again. Why am I not wearing any clothes? She couldn't restrain her embarrassment. Why aren't you? At this moment Chu Yang also woke up from his stupor. He was somewhat embarrassed and a strange feeling rose in his heart. In that instant he actually had a reaction. A certain part of his body tensed up, and pressed firmly against Wu Qianqian's flat abdomen. He wanted to attack and take over the city and fight bravely for a while. Actually it's like this. Chu Yang's mouth was dry as he explained the whole situation. You better put me down first, this looks like. Wu Qianqian was so embarrassed that her whole body was burning. It turned out that a certain someone was still hugging another person tightly. The two naked bodies were still tightly pressed against each other like before. It's okay, you just got treated. How can you have the strength to walk? Alright, you haven't taken a bath yet. Chu Yang said shamelessly. Let's go, I'll carry you to take a bath. Don't. I can walk, really, I can take a bath. I have the strength. Wu Qianqian shyly struggled with all her might. If it had been someone else, she would have been able to break free. How could she have the strength to walk like this? Don't move, I'm telling you, it's not good even if you have the strength. You can't move now. What if your injuries relapse? I have the final say in this matter. Chu Yang's face was serious and he said in a domineering manner. Don't move, I'll help you bathe. I've already bathed you 800 times before, there's still a ***. His righteousness was gone for a moment, and he blurted out the dirty thoughts in his heart. Wu Qianqian struggled but could not break free. She did not know why, but her whole body was burning. She felt the strong body of the man in front of her tightly pressed against her. His muscles moved rhythmically and she could not help but feel weak all over. Chu Yang carried Wu Qianqian, and quickly walked to the front of the large jade vat that had been prepared earlier. Inside the vat, there was already warm spring water prepared earlier. You should put me down, I'll bathe. Wu Qianqian's voice was like a mosquito. She was so embarrassed that she closed her eyes and did not look anymore. It's okay, I'm already used to it. Did you think I was joking just now? I've washed you almost 800 times. Chu Yang smiled mischievously. Used to it? 800 times? Wu Qianqian did not understand. Well, during this period of time you can't move. Every 2 days I'll come and bathe you. Then I'll give you a massage. Then I'll change your clothes. Chu Yang said softly, I've washed your body many times. Even if I did it 800 times, I'll still do it 800 times. How many times? 800 times? 800 times? Wu Qianqian was so embarrassed that she almost fainted. According to what he said, he had already seen, and even touched. Chapter 1876. Returning to Infinite Boundless Mountain, the sword spirit was shocked as soon as he arrived. No, it should be said that he was greatly shocked. Baidu search p.com, the scene in front of him was too shocking. Ever since the sword spirit had displayed his might and sealed the death chi, Infinite Boundless Mountain had been packed with people these days. But at this moment, the entire mountaintop had been emptied. Below the mountaintop there were countless corpses. Blood flowed like a river, and the smell of blood spread 500 miles away with the wind. The sword spirit couldn't help but sigh. These people were really murderous. Moreover, there were so many people. So many had died, but there were still so many people fighting. What were they trying to do? Were they still going to pass? Amidst the crowd, the black-clothed Wang Dao quietly strolled by. His face was expressionless and his eyes were like a vulture's. Some people who saw him quickly avoided him, afraid that they would be targeted by this killing god. This guy was really too terrifying. When he attacked with his saber, there would be no return without blood. There were no exceptions. In these few days, Wang Dao had already been crowned with a title that even he himself didn't know: Saber of Destiny. Destiny couldn't be defied. When the saber attacked, it meant that destiny wanted you dead. One saber would kill you. Although he had only made his debut for a short time, he had already established a fierce reputation. Under the heaven stage there was no one who could resist him. At this time, there were still several groups of people fighting with their lives on the mountainside. It was unknown what they were fighting for. Dragging his saber, Wang Dao coldly walked forward, watching the battle with cold eyes. He didn't expect that when those people saw Wang Dao approaching, they would instantly scream and flee in panic. They didn't even bother to fight. Saber of Destiny has come. Everyone scattered like birds and beasts. Everyone panicked and didn't know where to go. They only hated their parents for not giving birth to them with 2 more legs. Wang Dao's eyes slightly fluctuated. Once upon a time he was just an ordinary farmer's youth. Anyone could bully him. But now there were so many people whom he could only look up to in awe, who fled in panic after seeing him. If he could start his life over, would he choose to continue being that youth, who only wanted to be reunited with his family? Or would he choose his current life? Wang Dao closed his eyes, shook his head, and waved away this unrealistic question. Saber in hand he walked away. Wherever he went, the people there all opened up a path for him. The sword spirit was dumbfounded. How awe-inspiring. Well, who is the Blade of Destiny? Was he talking about Wang Dao? What a domineering nickname. He looked down the mountain and saw that it was originally a very spacious place. Demonic aura soared to the sky. It was obvious that the demon army from the Heaven Imperial Court had finally arrived. The relic's allure was indeed shocking. Even the demon race couldn't resist it. They traveled through mountains and rivers to get here. The members of the demon clan were all grotesquely shaped. Some were handsome, some were perfect, and some were extremely ugly. They all went to extremes, from donkey's lips to horse's mouth to bull's head to dog's face. As expected, it's a group of demons dancing wildly and bewitching all living beings. The sword spirit shook his head and entered the long sword formed by the sword in tent again. In the blink of an eye, the black gas that was gushing out abruptly retracted and returned to its original state of trickling out like a stream. Suddenly, a strong wind blew across the sky, blowing away the chilly aura of death lingering on the mountaintop in just a short while. This sudden change. It immediately attracted everyone's attention. The chilly aura once again returned to its original state a few days ago. This was a super change. Naturally, everyone was shocked. They couldn't stop guessing. Why did it suddenly return to normal? What's going on? Faced with this strange change, all the major sects finally reacted. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A few figures came to the mountaintop like shooting stars. Snow Immortal, Hai Jinbo, and all the senior experts of the same level, more than 30 people, landed on the mountaintop almost simultaneously. They were afraid that they would be late and miss out. All of them looked serious. They didn't get close to the long sword that was flashing with cold light. They only observed the surroundings, paying attention to any clues. Strange. Since it can suppress it to this extent, why didn't it suppress the aura of death for an entire day and let it spread? Could it be that there's a limit to this sword's power? After suppressing it to a certain extent, it has to be suspended for a certain period of time? There was a similar suspension before, but it wasn't this long. Why do I always feel like I'm being spied on every time I come here? There's obviously no one around, but this feeling is abnormally strong. One of them frowned. The sword spirit followed his advice and stopped checking. He completely integrated his body into the longsword. I also have this feeling. I thought I was too sensitive. It turns out that everyone has the same feeling. Snow Immortal frowned and looked around. Suddenly she saw Wu Zhangxiu. He was staring at her like a thief. His eyes were full of love. She couldn't help but sigh fiercely. This guy is really annoying. I can't really kill him. He's so annoying. Elder Mu of the Heavenly Sword Alliance frowned and said, could this situation be a sign that the divine soul of the calamity below has awakened? It's fighting against this sword? And the phenomenon of the surging of the aura of death today, maybe it's because this sword is at a disadvantage. Or maybe the two are equal. That's why the chilly aura of death is surging? Previously, the divine soul of the calamity had a similar movement. However, it was completely suppressed. At most, it only surged for a moment. Another person suddenly understood. Now that it's calm, it should be because the divine soul of the calamity has been suppressed again? That should be the case. In that case, this sword can actually suppress a mature and awakened divine soul of the calamity? The power of this sword is really shocking. As soon as this sentence was said, the eyes of the 30-over-old guys lit up. They stared at the sword like searchlights. The sword spirit felt uncomfortable being stared at by so many eyes. Not only the sword spirit, anyone would feel uncomfortable being surrounded by so many expectant, longing, and covetous eyes. Snow Immortal snorted from her nose and said in a strange tone, what? Do you all want this sword? Sure. But I don't know if you have the ability to pick it up? The moment she asked this question, they were all discouraged. Pick it up? Oh. How many people have died because of getting close to this sword? There's no lack of experts. We've seen it all. Why would we take the risk? Snow Immortal snorted and said, none of you can even pick it up. Why are you still dreaming? Even if you can pick up that sword. Can you afford to offend the owner of this sword? Of course, if any of you have the ability to pick up that sword, you should be able to deal with the owner of the sword. The problem is, which one of you can? All the old men's faces turned red. You're all idiots who overestimate yourselves. Snow Immortal didn't let them off and mocked them to her heart's content. Speaking of which, Snow Immortal herself was a very gentle woman. However, the fact that the various large realms concealed the news of the battle in advance caused the Eastern Royal Heavens to suffer a huge loss. Although Snow Immortal was a clay figurine, she still had some temper. Hence, every word she said was filled with sarcasm. Snow Immortal's words were undoubtedly sharp and unkind, but they exposed the truth. An old man said angrily, Snow Immortal, what do you mean by that? Some things it's fine if everyone knows it. Even if you say it out loud, we won't argue with you on account that you're a woman. But it's fine if you just say one sentence but you're still not done? Do you really think that we're afraid of you? Snow Immortal was worried that she didn't have an excuse to flare up. Hearing that, she flew into a rage. What? So what if I'm a woman? Women still know how to take responsibility for their actions. They don't hide and play dirty tricks. What's wrong with me saying a few more words? What I said wasn't true, so I'm not done. What can you do about it? I can see that you're afraid of me. If you're not convinced, come and spar with me. Do you dare? Snow Immortal was deliberately causing trouble to vent her anger. Of course, her words were as unpleasant as they could be. That old man was so angry that his face turned red. Look, what are you doing? Are you scolding me like a shrew? Although he said that, this old man really didn't dare to go against Snow Immortal. His strength was slightly inferior to Wu Zhangxiu's. How could he dare to spar with Snow Immortal? That wasn't a spar, it was simply asking to be abused. After all, not everyone was like Wu Zhangxiu. Being abused by others was a pleasure. Snow Immortal stepped forward. So what if I say that you're greedy? So what if I say that you're delusional? So what if I say that you're not capable? So what if I say that you can't afford to offend others? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? That old man was forced to retreat step by step. Suddenly he flew into a rage. Snow Immortal, do you really think that you can defeat me? I really don't care about you. Snow Immortal raised her eyebrows and pulled out her long sword. Her pretty face was angry. A bunch of people who only know how to play tricks. Why are you pulling out your sword? Let me teach you how to be a person. At least I'll let you be more humane. Clang. That old man couldn't take it anymore. With a shake of his wrist, he unsheathed his long sword. The old man was also a high-ranking person of a sect. He couldn't afford to lose face like this. He would rather be beaten to death than be bullied to death. Both sides were in a heated atmosphere. They were on the verge of a fight. Or rather, It should be said that the arrow was on the bow and had to be released. At this moment Wu Zhangxiu hurriedly ran out and inserted himself between the two. He waved his hand and said, "Everyone calm down. Calm down. Give me some face," that old man said angrily. "Wu Zhangxiu, this has nothing to do with you. What are you doing?" Wu Zhangxiu was full of smiles. He said, "I shouldn't interfere in the matter between Snow Immortal and you. Moreover, I'm shy and don't know how to speak." That old man's expression softened. It was pure nonsense to say that Wu Zhangxiu was shy. However, he came out to mediate at this moment, which was what the old man wanted. As long as he could avoid a direct confrontation with Snow Immortal, it was fine to let Wu Zhangxiu talk. "I'm shy. If I offend you in any way..." Wu Zhangxiu continued to speak with a smile. However, Wu Zhangxiu suddenly swung his hand and slapped him fiercely on the face. He shouted, "Come and fucking hit me. P.S. I'll continue to write." Even if he risked his life, he would only last for a month. Chapter 1877. That slap was truly vicious. It had come so suddenly that he was caught off guard, and it was even more ferocious. The old man's entire body spun like a top, and he flew out horizontally. Speaking of which, the two of them were about the same cultivation, although the old man was slightly weaker. If they really fought, even if Wu Zhangxiu could win, it would take at least a few hundred rounds. It would be impossible to take him down in a short period of time. However, the distance between the two of them was too close and the old man was caught off guard. Furthermore, Wu Zhangxiu's tone, voice, and expression were too bewitching, and the old man had suffered a huge loss. Seeing the old man flying out, everyone's jaws dropped, as they turned to look at Wu Zhangxiu in shock. This fellow was truly sinister. It seemed that he had to re-evaluate this fellow. Seeing him approach with a simple and honest face, everyone thought that he was going to be a peacemaker, trying to smooth things over. Who would have thought that he would actually come up with such an explosive move? It was simply too shocking. It was also too shocking. Thinking back to that simple slap, everyone was sweating profusely. Damn, such a bewitching attack, even I would not be able to dodge it. Wu Zhangxiu? This old man and you are irreconcilable. The old man had just landed on the ground when he flew back in a rage, his hair standing on end. He had suffered such a huge loss today and could not die in peace. If he did not get it back, how could he still have the face to stand in front of others? In the midst of his shame and anger, his sword flashed as he slashed towards Wu Zhangxiu, intending to go all out. Oi, I'm talking about that. Monarch, use your mouth and not your fists. Wu Zhangxiu barked out, "Stop right there, I'll argue with you properly and let everyone be the judge." "Rugua, I was wrong." The old man glared at him. "What are you going to do if you're wrong? Don't tell me Shuexian was right when she scolded me earlier?" Wu Zhangxiu retorted, "What the hell do you know? Come, everyone come and be the judge." He turned to everyone and said, "Is he wrong or am I wrong? I hit him." The old man angrily rushed forward. "Judge if you want to judge. I don't believe that, you're the only one in this world." Right at this moment, Wu Zhangxiu suddenly kicked the old man in his dantian, sending him flying with a whoosh. He shouted loudly, "I hit him. Can't I hit him? So what if I hit him?" It was another kick that caught him off guard. At this moment, everyone's eyebrows twitched. Fuck. This was too shameless. Too despicable. Too despicable. Too despicable. This time, Wu Zhangxiu did not wait for his opponent to get up. She pounced forward and caught up with the old man, whose body was bent like a prawn from the kick. She cursed fiercely as she rained punches and kicks on him. "I hit you. So what if I hit you? Come and hit me. Come and hit me. Come and fucking hit me. Fuck. You still dare to draw your sword at me. I asked you to draw your sword. I asked you to draw your sword. You're despicable. You're despicable. You fucking despicable. Your whole family is despicable. I'm afraid of you when you draw your sword. I'm afraid of you. I'm afraid of you. I'm scared to death of you. You dare to hit me. You fucking dare to hit me back. Hit me back. Hit me back. Hit me back. Why aren't you hitting me back? I fucking asked you to hit me back. Why aren't you hitting me back? Bang, bang, bang. By the time everyone rushed forward to pull the two of them apart, the poor old man had fainted from the beating. His face was covered in blood. He fainted partly because he was angry and partly because he felt wronged. If he was just getting beaten up, he would not have fainted. Wu Zhangxiu knew how to control his strength and would not kill him. But this was too wronged. Wu Zhangxiu stood up proudly. He moved in front of Shuexian and said, "Xian." See, I told you that this old thing is not my match. How can an old thing like him catch up to me? He's so strong. Should we? Shui Xian's face darkened. She said angrily, "Scram. Who asked you to meddle in other people's business?" Wu Zhangxiu nodded and bowed. "If you ask me to scram, I will immediately scram. I will scram without stopping. Xian, how do you want to see me scram? Do I roll vertically or horizontally? Or do I roll in a ball?" Wu Zhangxiu had already been kicked in the stomach by the snow immortal, who couldn't bear it any longer. He was like a rubber ball rolling down from the steep mountaintop, without stopping for a moment. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. All the old men turned around. A few of them wanted to find Wu Zhangxiu to settle the score, but they found that this person had disappeared. Just as they were about to fly into a rage, they met Shui Xian's cold eyes and Hai Xiaobo's eyes. He was holding his sword hilt. They gritted their teeth and said, "Xian, aren't you too despicable?" Shui Xian said calmly, "Do you have the right to tell me if I'm despicable or not? Let's not talk about whether Wu Zhangxiu is under my command or not. Even if I did, do you have any objections? Who has any objections? Step forward." The old men were so angry that their mouths were twitching. But no one dared to step forward. Although that old man belonged to a super sect, he was from a lower-tier sect. How could they offend dreamlike verandas Shui Xian in the eastern royal heavens for such a person? Then, a large group of people came up to mediate. They were all 10,000-year-old old demons, and they knew that it would be stupid to fight now. After arguing and pulling each other, they walked down in a single file. This time, the unconscious old man woke up. With a bloody nose and a swollen face, he flew away to find Wu Zhangxiu to settle the score. Hai Huabo walked in front of Shui Xian and said softly, "Xian, actually that old Wu is really sincere to you. He didn't even say a word and helped you take care of such a big problem. I think you should consider taking the exam. If you miss it then..." Before he could finish, he met Shui Xian's murderous eyes. He raised his hand bitterly and said, "All right, just take it that I didn't say anything." Shui Xian snorted angrily with a murderous aura. She extended her body and flew away. Tai Butian and Wu Qianqian, the husband and wife, had finally reunited after such a long separation. It seemed as if they had an endless room to talk about. The two of them chatted and laughed at the side of the room. They had been chatting for more than 4 hours and still hadn't finished talking. Tai Butian also told Wu Qianqian about how Chuyang and the rest fought against the big clans, how they fought against the law enforcement officers, how they destroyed the Dharma Supreme, how they resolved the biggest crisis of the heavenly layer, how they rushed up to the heavenly layer, and so on. Wu Qianqian listened with great interest and interjected from time to time, asking Tai Butian to explain in more detail. At the end of the story, Wu Qianqian asked, "This and that. Both of you came up. Where's Yang?" When it came to the people closest to Tai Yang besides Tai Butian, it would be Wu Qianqian. Even Chu Yang and Ning Tianya had to be ranked behind. Tai Butian's face turned red. Then she said hatefully, "Don't mention that little heartless fellow. The two of them colluded and usurped the throne." Usurped the throne? What do you mean? Wu Qianqian's beautiful eyes widened. She was stunned for a moment. Then she seemed to understand and burst into laughter. Tai Butian also found it funny. She explained, "The two of them dragged me up to the upper 3 heavens and then, when I returned, I discovered that the throne had changed hands. I became the late emperor. That's roughly what happened." Wu Qianqian found it even more hilarious. In the end, she laughed so hard that she couldn't catch her breath. Tai Butian snorted and said in a low voice, "Are you laughing at me? I'd like to ask my empress." The man who came in earlier was staggering and had a lustful look on his face. "What exactly did he do to me? Tell me the truth. Did he put a colored hat on me?" Wu Qianqian's face and ears were red. She stuttered for a long time before she spoke. Even her neck was red. Tai Butian didn't give up. "Tell me quickly. Otherwise, I'll punish you severely." Wu Qianqian steeled her heart and decided to turn the tables. "What else can I do to you? It's what he did to you." This time Tai Butian's face also turned red. She said angrily, "You little hussy. Don't spout nonsense. You're slandering me." Wu Qianqian snorted and leaned close to her ear. She whispered, "Your Majesty, did my junior brother serve you well?" Tai Butian's face instantly turned red. In her embarrassment, she pounced on Wu Qianqian and tickled her. Wu Qianqian twisted her body to avoid her but was still tickled. She begged for mercy. "Your Majesty, please spare me. I won't dare to do it again. I won't dare to do it again. I won't say it again." "All right, how did you Do it when you were together? Another round of fooling around. Then the two women put their heads together and whispered. Their faces were red and their eyes were watery. They couldn't suppress their embarrassment. Chuyang stood outside the door, his heart burning as he listened. Somewhere he was ready for battle. Then he couldn't hold it in anymore. He pushed the door open and barged in. Ah! The two women screamed and turned their heads in a panic. When they saw Chuyang, they couldn't help but think of him. Even their necks turned red. Why are the two of you so happy talking about me? Tell me about it too. Let me be happy too. Chuyang calmly walked to the bedside. Then he casually sat down between the two of them. Then he stretched out his hands, and the two delicate bodies fell into his embrace. I didn't do it. Tai Buqian's face was red. I really didn't do it. Wu Qianqian emphasized with a red face. That's not right. Chuyang blinked and said, I heard it all just now. You heard it all? The two women screamed at the same time. You heard me? Chu Yang's lips curled into a sinister smile. He said softly, I heard Qianqian asking, Your Majesty, did my junior brother serve you well? Then she said sweetly. Chapter 1878. At this point, the two girls, who were already extremely embarrassed, pressed down on the bed and covered their mouths. Continue. Memo. Chu Yang's mouth was gagged and he couldn't speak. Suddenly, he stuck out his tongue and licked Tai Butian's hand that was covering his mouth. P.C. Tai Butian shuddered and the strength in her hand disappeared at once. Using a trick, Chu Yang broke free. Then, his two big hands entered the Empress's clothes without any warning. He grabbed a ball of soft flesh and rubbed it gently. He teased, Your Majesty, it seems to have gotten a lot bigger here. Tai Butian was so embarrassed that her whole body went soft. She said, Let go. Qianqian is still here. Wu Qianqian blushed and stood up hurriedly. She said, You guys go ahead. I still have something to do, so... She was about to escape. However, Chuyang reached out and grabbed her. She stumbled and fell onto the bed. Chuyang hugged Tai Butian with one hand. Then he flipped over and pressed Wu Qianqian under his body. He covered Wu Qianqian's little mouth with his big mouth. His other hand reached into Wu Qianqian's lapel with great familiarity. With a flick and a swipe, Wu Qianqian's lapel was already half open, revealing her snow-white shoulders and half of her soft breasts. The two girls were so embarrassed that they started to struggle vigorously at the same time. Minister Chu is worthy of being called Minister Chu. How can he let a cooked duck fly away at such a critical juncture? His two big hands moved up and down, showing off his superb hand skills. Wait for me to serve your majesty. Junior brother will also serve senior sister. Let's do it together. It didn't take long. The two girls were no match for him even if they joined forces. By now, they had already turned into two puddles of fragrant mud and fell onto the bed weakly. They knew that they shouldn't have done this. It was really too embarrassing. But they were really powerless to resist someone's forceful attack. Chuyang moved in a flurry. Immediately, two fair and tender bodies appeared on the bed. He stood up and roughly removed his clothes. His eyes lit up and he pressed himself on top of them. Someone moaned. This sound was like a bugle horn that signaled the start of the battle. Chuyang immediately fell into an extremely brave and ferocious battle. He attacked the city and took out the stronghold. He was invincible as he drove straight in. Straddling a horse and holding a spear, he fought against the world. Omitting another 3 million words. After a full half hour, Chuyang lay on the bed in high spirits. His whole body felt comfortable. It was extremely refreshing. Tai Butian Hairpin's hair was in a mess on both sides of his body. Wu Qianqian was gasping for breath. The two women felt that they couldn't even move their little fingers. So comfortable? Chuyang sighed with satisfaction. This is the life of a deity. Chuyang had fantasized countless times before, but never had the chance to carry out the threesome. But today he had finally achieved his wish. Chuyang's heart was filled with incomparable satisfaction. Especially. Minister Chu thought to himself, everything is difficult at the beginning. As long as there's a first time, then it's a beginning. Won't I be able to taste the delicacies at any time in the future? Thinking about it this way. Minister Chu laughed obscenely, ha ha ha. Hearing this perverted laughter, the two women were embarrassed and angry. They wanted to reach out and pinch him, but they didn't have the strength to do so. It was as if his entire body was cramping and his entire body was limp. Pervert. Scoundrel. Tai Butian rested for a long while before finally bursting out. When he thought about how Wu Qianqian had seen him in his most embarrassing state, The former emperor wished he could find a hole to jump into and never come out again. She was so embarrassed. At the side, Wu Qianqian buried her face in the blanket, refusing to raise her head no matter what. While Tai Butian was incomparably embarrassed, Wu Qianqian was even more embarrassed. Today was their first time, and then they slept together under the same blanket. What should they do in the future? Chu Yang was immensely proud of himself. So what if I'm a pervert? So what if I'm a scoundrel? As long as it's comfortable. The two women scolded at the same time. They struggled to prop themselves up and bit hard on his shoulders, one on each side. Chu Yang grimaced. But how could he not let them vent after taking such great advantage of him? He had to bear with it. Just this once. Tai Butian blushed, but her voice was resolute. There definitely won't be a next time. At the side, Wu Qianqian nodded vigorously, expressing her agreement and support. There won't be a next time? Chu Yang flipped over and pressed down on Tai Butian again. Your Majesty's words must be followed. Since that's the case, let's play a few more times in case we don't have another chance in the future. As he spoke, he was about to touch her. Tai Butian felt the fiery pressure and threat, and her beautiful face couldn't help but change. Even in her dreams, she didn't expect Chu Yang to be able to regain his vigor so quickly. She hurriedly begged for mercy. No, don't. I can't take it. Chu Yang straddled his horse and looked down at her from above. Then tell me, will there be a next time? Tai Butian looked at him with a red face and gritted teeth. She said angrily, definitely not. Chu Yang nodded. His body suddenly bent down and he said, all right. She slowly moved her waist forward. In a panic, Tai Butian shouted, Qianqian, come and save me. Wu Qianqian couldn't even wait to protect herself. How would she dare to save her? It was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. She wanted to take this opportunity to get off the bed quietly, but the moment she moved, Chu Yang hugged her. Trying to run? If you don't give me an answer today, neither of you can get off this bed. If you don't agree, we can only have fun today. After a long time, after another rainstorm, Chu Yang was extremely satisfied, and started to laugh mischievously. Under Minister Chu's extremely violent attacks, the two women were finally forced to sign an agreement. They agreed to Great Manor Master Chu's licentious request. After a long time, the two women clenched their teeth and put on their clothes. They only felt limp and sore all over their bodies. They looked at Chu Yang with even more resentment and hatred in their eyes. This guy is simply an animal, a beast. It was a never-ending torrential downpour and stormy waves. Who can take him? Luckily there's still Qianqian. Luckily there's still His Majesty. The two women thought so in their hearts. The two women who had finally recovered had a frosty look on their faces. Their expressions were cold and solemn, and they completely ignored Chu Yang. Even if they didn't consider the exhaustion of their physical strength, just that shyness and that agreement made the two women so ashamed that they couldn't show their faces. Even in their dreams, they didn't expect that they would actually sleep together with this beast. In fact, today was just a beginning. In the future, at this thought, even when the two women occasionally looked at each other, they immediately turned their heads away. Then their faces turned red and they were extremely uneasy. Thinking that their most embarrassing side was clearly seen by another person, this kind of embarrassment, this kind of absurdity, almost completely subverted the two women's previous understanding. What was even more frightening was that this kind of thing would probably happen more often in the future. It was very likely that there would be other women joining in. At least Imo Qingwu wouldn't be able to escape. Cough. Is this the legendary day of immortals? Great Manor Master Chu stretched and walked out. He shook his hips, waist and neck, and his face looked like a weasel who had just eaten a chicken. Someone was addicted to it and even signed an agreement to fulfill his great wish. How could he not feel refreshed and happy? Humph. The two women were embarrassed at the same time. Their faces were full of anger and they turned their faces away. Their hearts were pounding. Back in the day, we were both peak characters who could command the wind and the clouds. We commanded the world. We were in charge of life and death. We were heroes who looked down on the common people. How could we be sleeping together with you? You are still acting so, humph. That I say, Qianqian. Xu Feng knew that the two women couldn't accept it. You can stay with Tian for the time being. Anyway, such a big courtyard is enough for the two of you to live in. The two of you have reunited after such a long time, you should be intimate with each other. Well, you can sleep together in bed. What a wonderful thing it is. I can't wait for it. Chu Yang smiled and said, anyway, we are short of rooms in our house. We are very free. We don't have any extra rooms for you. You can stay with Tian for the time being. Anyway, such a big courtyard is enough for the two of you to live in. Beautiful scenery, a good family, and a full moon. You can talk to your bosom friends, whisper to each other, and talk freely. Under the moonlight, you can take care of each other, protect each other, and exchange ideas. Ah, what a wonderful thing this is. Just thinking about it makes me envious, jealous, and eager to participate. Chu Yang was shameless as he fantasized for a while. Speaking of the thickness of Minister Chu's skin, he had reached the pinnacle. In fact, he was unparalleled. Such a big courtyard, hundreds of acres of land, and Wu Qianshan couldn't live in it? Only the great Manor Lord Chu could say such words. Good. What's good about it? What's good about it? Do you think we don't know what intentions you have? Tai Butian said coldly, letting me live with Qianshan. I'm afraid the biggest convenience is to make it convenient for a pervert like you, right? How can you say that about me? You hurt my heart too much. Chu Yang opened his eyes wide. Am I that kind of person? Am I that kind of person in your hearts? Tai Butian's almond-shaped eyes opened wide, full of anger. Fine, I'll let you say it yourself. What kind of person are you? You say it. Chu Yang said with awe-inspiring righteousness. I, your husband, am naturally a righteous man. The two women looked at each other and didn't say anything for a long time. After a long time, Wu Qianshan said, a righteous ruler? Do you believe what you're saying? Chu Yang laughed and said, why wouldn't I believe it? Don't you think I know what kind of person I am? Even if I don't know, the two of you still don't know? The two women were dumbfounded again. They never thought that there would be such a shameless person in the world. Tai Butian said fiercely, fine, since you call yourself a righteous ruler and are so righteous, you should do something a righteous ruler should do, right? You also said that our conditions are limited. Our rooms are even smaller. This room belongs to the two of us. You're not allowed to enter in the future. Hurry up and do those righteous ruler things. The two of us won't disturb you from doing your business. Chapter 1879. How thick-skinned was Chu Yang? With a righteous expression, he said, if the room is smaller, then so be it. I don't mind. Both of you are my women. It's proper for me to do something with both of you. In order to emphasize, he even emphasized the word, certain. The two women blushed even more. Their beauty was truly out of this world. Wu Qianshan said, You wanted us to do that just now. That's also proper. Of course it's proper. If it wasn't proper, would both of you agree? Just now, you guys personally promised and agreed to it. It can be seen that this is a serious matter. Novel chapters are updated the fastest. Chu Yang laughed mischievously. You still dare to say. You still dare to say. Thinking of how they were forced to agree just now, both of them felt hot all over. Forget it, forget it. I'll leave this small world to both of you for the time being. Chu Yang turned and slipped away. I'll go ahead and take a look. The two women didn't have time to protest. Chu Yang stretched out his hand and touched Tai Butian's soft breasts. Then he rubbed Wu Qianshan's perky buttocks. The two women screamed in surprise. Chu Yang laughed heartily. This is so soft and this is so big. His smug expression disappeared in a flash. The two women looked at each other. Their faces were red and didn't fade for a long time. Facing this woman who shared a man with them, both of them felt a little complicated. Their eyes flickered a few times and they smiled bitterly at the same time. You. Both of them opened and closed their mouths at the same time. You first. You first. Again, both of them opened and closed their mouths at the same time. The two of them couldn't help but look at each other. At the same time they smiled. This smile seemed to have completely broken the stiff atmosphere. Your Majesty, what should we do now? Wu Qianshan frowned. Tai Butian also smiled bitterly. What should they do? What else could they do? They could only do it. The two women were very opinionated and had their own ideas. In such a situation, although they were still discussing it verbally, it was just a kind of subconscious psychological barrier that they couldn't accept for the time being. It was completely different from the actual decision. There's no other way. Anyway, there's nothing I can do. Tai Butian shook her head. Even if we resist, it will be of no avail. It will only lead to greater suppression. Don't forget that he can use shameless and hooligan methods to achieve his goal. Can you be more shameless than him? Wu Qianshan blushed and said, even if there's no other way, we have to think of some countermeasures. Don't tell me that there's no other way but to let him do whatever he wants? Then we'll look like shit. Tai Butian snorted and said with a sideways glance, if you don't let him do as he pleases, do you think you'll be able to handle him? Since you've become his woman, accept your fate. Wu Qianqian blushed. He thought of Chu Yang's beast-like charge. That seemingly never-ending energy made her feel weak all over. She had to admit that when facing such an energetic madman, ZJ alone was definitely not enough. Even the two of them, ZJ and Tai Budian, could barely handle it, let alone ZJ alone. If ZJ was alone, then it would be terrible. Forget it. Accept your fate. Besides, Tai Budian said indifferently, you also looked like you were enjoying it just now. You were so loud and unrestrained. Wu Qianqian was so ashamed that she couldn't show her face. She said angrily, who are you talking about? Are you talking about ZJ? You started moaning when he was on top of you just now. You must have fainted in the end, right? You closed your eyes and moaned and screamed. You don't know shame and still have the cheek to talk about others. Tai Budian pounced on her shyly. Watch me beat you to death, you little slut who's full of nonsense. Wu Qianqian was not to be outdone. She immediately retaliated. The two women tangled together. Not long after, their hair was in a mess and they were panting heavily. But with this commotion, it also meant that this matter had become a foregone conclusion, and had been accepted, after a long time. Okay, let's talk about something serious. Tai Budian tidied up ZJ's clothes. Qian, our situation in this period of time isn't very good. We've just come up and our foundation is especially unstable. It's good that you're here to help me. I can also heave a sigh of relief. Wu Qianqian blushed. I can help you? Didn't I help you? Wu Qianqian was not like Tai Budian. As a first-time wife, she was sensitive. She was used to talking about things in a special way. You're really a little lecherous woman. Tai Budian pursed her lips and said in a low voice, let's not talk about other things. Didn't you manage the Heavenly Armament Pavilion in Chu Yang's place before? Now the rules will be the same as before. You have the skills in this area. It's not a problem at all. We can make the best use of your talents. Then tonight you still want to run away at night? Tai Budian sighed. Wu Qianqian's cheeks flushed red. Also, we can't give up on our cultivation. We must improve as quickly as possible. Tai Buqian's gaze was focused as she said indifferently, although you and I are both women, we once controlled the world. If women like us blindly stay behind a man's back and seek protection, how can we accept it? Wu Qianqian nodded deeply. You've reached the stage of ZJ now? I should be at the level of human level now. Tai Budian said, if not for Chu Yang's large amount of elixirs and the fact that he helped me change my muscles and cleanse my marrow every day, I wouldn't have reached this stage. Although I'm at the level of human level, I'm still far from a true expert. What about you? Tai Budian asked Wu Qianqian. I've just woken up. How can my cultivation have reached the stage of ZJ now? When I was in a coma, I was only around the 5th tier of martial saint level. Now, Wu Qianqian frowned and said hesitantly, since I woke up this time, I feel that the power in my body has taken a big step forward. But I'm really not sure what level I've reached. Circulate your energy and let me see. Tai Budian said with a trace of fantasy. After a long while. Oh my god. What's going on? It can't be. Tai Budian exclaimed. She was completely shocked by Wu Qianqian. You've actually reached the level of Earth level. This is too unbelievable, right? Wu Qianqian also had a perplexed look on her face. She said, I'm not at the level of Earth level. Looking at the faint yellow light that was emitting from ZJ's body, Wu Qianqian also felt a little dizzy. How could they be at the level of Earth level? In the process of reversing life and death, Chu Yang had used large amounts of energy and elixirs. During the period when Wu Qianqian was in a coma, Chu Yang had fed her countless treasures. The spring of life that others yearned for was not cherished by Wu Qianqian at all. She directly treated it as her daily drinking water. There was also the super heavy pill and the resurrection grass that was more than 150,000 years old. They had completely stimulated the medicinal effects in her body. Wu Qianqian's meridians had completely collapsed and reformed, causing the medicinal effects hidden in her body to go to waste. They were all converted into Wu Qianqian's own cultivation. This allowed Wu Qianqian's cultivation to soar to the heavens. However, Wu Qianqian was indeed unaware of all these. Tai Budian was naturally even more unaware. In fact, even Chu Yang himself was a little confused. Unless the sword spirit helped to analyze from the beginning, only then would they know the whole story. Otherwise, it would be a complete mystery. Looks like I need to speed up my cultivation? Tai Budian muttered. Then she suddenly thought of ZJ and blushed. She said, Qian, I remember your master and his wife's martial arts. Wu Qian was very smart. She immediately understood. She said with a red face, you're talking about the moon breeze dual cultivation technique? Tai Buqian's face was flushed red. She said, since that can't be avoided, why don't we just use it to cultivate? This is greatly beneficial to the three of us. Then, Wu Qian couldn't restrain her shyness. She blushed and lowered her head. She rolled her eyes a few times. Then she bit her lips and nodded slightly. That night, Chuyang could really be said to have enjoyed all the luck in the world. Furthermore, the effects of the moon breeze dual cultivation technique, when practiced by people like Chuyang, Tai Butian, and Wu Qian were super immediate. In just one night, all three of them had reached a certain level of cultivation. Their cultivation had become much stronger, and they could feel that they were advancing rapidly. This was especially true for Chuyang and Wu Qian. Both of them had special physiques and extraordinary talents. Thus, this feeling was especially strong. As for Tai Butian, although her aptitude was slightly inferior to the other two and was slightly slower, the Icy Heart Jade Bone physique was also an extremely rare physique. Even in the entire Heaven Circuit, it was considered a peerless talent. It was even better than those youths who had been upgraded by Chu Yang's magic treasures. However, Tai Butian became a little anxious. ZJ's cultivation was not as good as Chu Yang's to begin with. Now he was falling behind step by step. How could this be? An emperor should have the dignity of an emperor. Even though she was a woman, her dignity was still the same. Thus, in the end, Tai Butian couldn't care less about her shyness anymore. She pestered Chu Yang to cultivate crazily. Naturally, Chu Yang would never refuse such an invitation. In the end, due to a certain someone's stubbornness, Tai Butian actually fainted while practicing. It was obvious that Minister Chu was very hard-working in his cultivation. Chu Yang held the beautiful woman in his arms. The two of them were still connected as they fell asleep in each other's arms. In the Chu clan's courtyard, in the shade of the small courtyard where Tai Butian was staying, brother who was lying comfortably on the ground. Ever since he had digested the 20 souls of purple crystal that Chu Yang had given him, he had been paid to do so. Having recovered his cultivation, brother who naturally had to shoulder the heavy responsibility of protecting Tai Butian. With Brother Tiger's protection, Chu Yang was finally relieved. The next morning, Chu Yang had just woken up when someone came to report that there was a Duke Yun Tian requesting an audience. Yun Tian? Chu Yang was puzzled. He's here for an audience? Towards this person, Chu Yang was extremely wary. In these few days, that invisible pressure in ZJ's heart had been increasing, causing Chu Yang to be constantly paranoid. However, he still couldn't find anything strange about it. However, Yun Tian's arrival today made Chu Yang's heart light up. That inexplicable pressure. Could it be that it came from some kind of scheme of Yun Tian's? To be continued. Chapter 1880. Ask him to wait for a moment, I'll go over now. Chu Yang's face darkened. Yun Tian actually brought quite a number of gifts when he came over this time. He looked a little helpless. He didn't expect Yuan Shetu to be so impatient. Since Yuan Shetu was impatient, Yun Tian could only bring forward the plan. If Chu Yang was killed by Yuan Shetu, the truth of why Dreamlike Mortal World and Ling Shao sect destroyed the Iron Blood Alliance would be revealed. When he saw Chu Yang, he laughed and said, Brother Chu, I was in a hurry last time and forgot the most basic etiquette. Today I'm here to make up for it. Come, look, this is the famous yellow ginseng wine of our extreme heaven. This is the crimson lotus, this is the Qianjun brush, this is the exquisite flower, This time Yun Tian actually brought a whole carriage full of gifts as if he was moving house. Not only were there local specialties, there were also some rare treasures in the Eastern Royal Heavenly Capital. In addition, he had red lips, white teeth, and an elegant demeanor, which made people have a good impression of him. Brother Yun, you're too polite. How can I dare to accept such a generous gift? Chu Yang welcomed him with a hearty smile. As he was being polite, he turned his head and instructed Duan Sankong, arrange for people to carry the gifts into the storeroom. Although he didn't dare to accept it verbally, his actions weren't polite at all. He finally understood the feeling of a corrupt official. Since they've already delivered the gifts to me, how can I let them take them back? How embarrassing, they're quite heavy. Under the effect of the resurrection grass, Duan Sankong had completely dissolved the saber chi that had been stored in his body for many years. Although his old injuries had just healed, he was still recovering. Although his old wounds had healed, his body was still somewhat weak, but he had completely gotten rid of his chronic ailments. It was only a matter of time before he could recover. But in terms of appearance he was still the same as before. He still had a hunched back and coughed from time to time. He called a few warriors to carry the gifts down. Brother Chu, the atmosphere here seems to be very different these few days. Yun Tian looked thoughtfully at the few burly men who came to carry the gifts. With his eyesight he could tell at a glance. None of these people were weak. At the very least they were at the earth stage. Moving something would require the help of an earth-grade expert. A personal attendant who cooks tea, cooks, washes clothes and folds blankets would have to be at least at the heaven stage. What a grand show of extravagance. Yes, I've been recruiting people before, but I haven't been able to find anyone. It's not. In the past 2 days, I've finally found a few thick-skinned guards to guard the house. Perhaps it's all thanks to Brother Yun. Speaking of which, it's really a coincidence. You came over that day and I've already recruited some people, hee. The two of them chatted as if they had been good friends for many years. He entered the living room and served tea. The host and the guest took their seats. They chatted cheerfully and wittily, revealing boundless harmony and friendship. However, the two of them were in the same situation. A sentence would go through their minds a few times before they could say it out loud. Every sentence that the other party said would go through their minds a few times before they answered. Both of them knew that the person sitting in front of them was not an ordinary person. Brother Chu, something major happened a few days ago. Yun Tian's expression was solemn. Something major could actually move someone like Brother Yun? Chu Yang's face was full of curiosity. The Iron Blood Alliance was destroyed. Yun Tian heaved a long sigh. It can be considered a super sect. Although it's at the bottom, it's still a pity that it was destroyed in a single night. Chu Yang smiled. Iron Blood Alliance? Yes, I heard that this sect is very impressive. I heard that the people who did it were Dreamlike Veranda and Lingxiao faction. Yun Tian saw that Chu Yang was unmoved and added another sentence. That's what I heard. However, most of the rumors in the martial world are baseless. This is not surprising. Chu Yang raised his teacup. Brother Yun, please have some tea. This tea of mine is... How could Yun Tian be interested in listening to him talk about the tea? But he also knew that Chu Yang was changing the topic. He calmly complimented him a few times and brought the topic back. How could such a big sect be destroyed so easily? This is a little strange. Chu Yang said solemnly and pretentiously, this is the martial world. Old man, this is not an official's world. Yun Tian cursed angrily in his heart. His face was full of smiles. That's right, the martial world is filled with emotions. However, what I'm curious about is, the Iron Blood Alliance did not offend anyone. How could it be destroyed in a single night? As he said that, Yun Tian suddenly raised his head and looked straight into Chu Yang's eyes. He smiled and said, Brother Chu, do you know who the Iron Blood Alliance offended? Chu Yang smiled and said, I don't know about this. Who knows, we might provoke someone we can't afford to provoke in the Jianghu. We must learn from the mistakes of others. We must be cautious in everything we do, Brother Yun. Yun Tian's pupils shrank. He could hear the warning in Chu Yang's words. He smiled and said, Same to you. We both need to take care of ourselves. The first round ended. On the surface, it looked like they had not gained anything. However, there were some things that both sides were well aware of. Chu Yang knew that Yun Tian was suspecting Chu Yang. Or rather, Chu Yang knew that Chu Yang was certain. Since that was the case, there was no harm in making things even more confusing. Yun Tian could also tell that Chu Yang was not denying it. In these few days, Dreamlike Veranda and Soaring Firmament faction have really been in the limelight. Yun Tian was a little envious. Yun Tian came over and whispered mysteriously, Brother Chu, you must know that Dreamlike Veranda and Soaring Firmament faction have obtained great benefits from destroying the Iron Blood Alliance this time. Chu Yang smiled faintly. Sometimes there will be benefits in life. Don't force it. Hearing his rejection, Yun Tian leaned back and said lightly, Brother Chu, it's better to enjoy it together than to enjoy it alone. Dreamlike Veranda and Soaring Firmament faction are so despicable. They want to monopolize all the benefits. This is not the way of the martial world. Chu Yang said calmly, with Brother Yun's strength, it's also possible for you to forcefully take a share of the benefits from the two big sections. However, I can't do anything about it. If the two big sects don't find trouble with me, I'll thank the heavens and earth. Yun Tian smiled. However, this matter now seems to have something to do with you. Chu Yang laughed. Oh. Yun Tian smiled faintly, Brother Chu. Brother Chu, I'll send people out to hunt down the remaining members of the Iron Blood Alliance. However, I don't know if I can get the head. Where should I send it? Brother Chu, please teach me. Yun Tian smiled faintly. He had absolute confidence. He believed that Chu Yang knew what he meant. Chu Yang raised his eyebrows and smiled. This is definitely not the case. He looked at Yun Tian with a warm smile. His eyes were firm and disdainful. Leave me? This sword master can accept anything in this lifetime, but I can't accept a woman. Brother Chu. You're really? Ha ha ha. Yun Tian changed very quickly. His smile immediately became cute and amiable. Others eat meat. I have to drink some soup. Chu Yang looked at him from the corner of his eyes. You want to drink soup? The tone of the word, soup, was a little high, making it sound a little strange. The meaning was obvious. I want to drink soup. Beg me. Yun Tian's fair and handsome face showed no signs of embarrassment. He immediately smiled. However, if Brother Chu nods, I won't even be able to drink soup. Chu Yang was alarmed. This person is so shrewd. He's really a scary opponent. Heavenly Sword Alliance. It was also the biggest sect. If Heavenly Sword Alliance spent all their resources on one person. Or, it would be better to distribute some resources? Even if they could weaken this guy by a little, it would be a huge gain. Yes. Men, bring me my 12 jade screens. Chu Yang clapped his hands. 12 white-clothed boys and girls entered in a single file. Each of them held a white jade screen in their hands. On it were beautiful scenes of the 4 seasons. The jade was very ordinary white jade. It was an extremely ordinary painting technique. Yun Tian looked at the screen and was a little confused. What did this mean? Could it be that the 2 super sects were fighting for this? Could this be a treasure map? Just as he was thinking, a mosquito-like voice sounded in his ears. It was full of excitement. Young master, each of these 12 boys is a top-notch genius. Their innate talent, temperament, and intelligence are all 1 in a million. Compared to Jin Qingyun and the others in the sect, their talents are much, much higher. Jin Qingyun was the second genius in Heavenly Sword Alliance, second only to ZJ. Yun Tian was shocked. His face turned a little red. He raised his head and looked at the 12 boys. Yes, each of them was pure gold and unpolished jade. Every one of them was a priceless treasure in the eyes of all the martial arts sects. There is no one better than him, the value of this kind of genius. In fact, he was even better than Shuxian and the others in terms of his prowess. Different identities and different statuses. Their horizons were also different. All of you can leave. Chu Yang waved his hand. The 12 boys bowed at the same time. They put down the screen and walked out. Yun Tian looked at the 12 boys reluctantly. He didn't say anything for a long time. He was deep in thought. No wonder Shuxian and Hai Mingbo were so anxious. No wonder the 2 big sects were so abnormal. So that's why. This was indeed a huge matter that was worthy of any sect's attention. It was a huge matter that could turn the world upside down. If dreamlike mortal world had many such geniuses, Heavenly Sword Alliance's position as the overlord would be shaky in less than 2,000 years. After a long time, Yun Tian raised his head and looked at the 12 ordinary white jade screens. He praised sincerely, they're really priceless treasures. Brother Chu, I wonder how many of these priceless treasures you can take out? Chu Yang said lightly, that depends. How many do you want? Yun Tian's heart skipped a beat. How many do I want? Does this mean that he can take out as many as I want? What if I want 1,000? Yun Tian's eyes became extremely sharp. Brother Chu, can you take it out? Chu Yang smiled. It's okay if you have a big appetite. However, you have to know your limits. Yun Tian's pupils shrank. He could take it out. He could. What kind of concept was this? This was a potential that could overturn the heavens. Yun Tian's heart started to beat wildly. To be continued? P.S. I didn't rush up. It's okay. I'll continue to explode. Everyone, please cast your monthly votes. Someone asked me, Proud World is nearing its end. Who do you think you are to fight for it? Do you have the confidence to fight for it? I laughed. Who do I think I am to fight for it? Do I have the confidence to fight for it? Every time I fight for the monthly votes, I have the confidence to fight for it. However, I will fight all the way. Once I start fighting, I won't turn back no matter if I win or lose. Having the confidence is not important. Whether I dare to fight for it, whether I dare to shout, is very important. I dare. It's just fighting, that's all. Chapter 1881. I only have 1,500 heads now. Yun Tian's voice was solemn. I'm still hunting. Brother Chu, how many treasures did Dreamlike Veranda take away? Chu Yang smiled lightly. Dreamlike Veranda has a big appetite too. Yun Tian's heart sank. Dreamlike Veranda has a big appetite too. Although this sentence was clearly stated, it also clearly pointed out that Dreamlike Veranda had definitely taken away a lot of people. Since that was the case, the number one sect of the Sky Sword Alliance was going to suffer a huge blow. Chu Yang chuckled and said, "If the head is fake, then even a single treasure will be yours." Yun Tian nodded. Of course. Novel chapters are updated the fastest. But forgive me for asking, where did Brother Chu get these treasures? Chu Yang sighed. Where do the auction items come from? These are the problems. Yun Tian was finally moved. He looked deeply at Chu Yang and nodded deeply. Thank you for telling me, Brother Chu. Chu Yang smiled. But this Iron Blood Alliance has too few people. At most, there are only a few thousand of them left. It's not enough to kill. Yun Tian frowned. Brother Chu, is there any other way? Tens of thousands of Iron Blood Alliance had been killed. A few thousand of them were not enough to kill. There were probably only a few people in the entire Heaven Imperial Court who were qualified to say such words. That elder likes heavenly treasures. The more high-end, the rarer, the better. Also high-end forging materials. Chu Yang raised his eyebrows and said somewhat ambiguously. Yun Tian nodded and immediately got up. Brother Chu, I'll take my leave now. Take care, I won't send you off. Chu Yang cupped his fist. He smiled and bowed. His eyes flickered slightly. He thought to himself, Yun Tian is here. This bunch of kids probably have a bright future. Why not find a chance to get rid of Yun Tian? If Yun Tian was killed, Sky Sword Alliance, as the number one sect of Heaven Imperial Court, would pour all its resources on this bunch of kids? Chu Yang thought to himself. However, Yun Tian was an old enemy. Should he kill him now? Also, this matter, how should he plan it? Yun Tian's face was heavy. His footsteps were heavy as he hurried away. His heart was in turmoil. At the same time, he could not help but feel a wave of regret. This time, the government was a little too hasty. They didn't expect that damn Yuan Shedu to make a move. Could it be stopped? Yun Tian arranged for the mysterious expert by his side to go back and organize these matters. After that, he hurriedly flew towards Mo Yuntian's camp. The path of Yuanshu. It's fine if you don't restrain yourself, but this time, you must restrain yourself. Don't ruin my plans. But when they arrived at Mo Yuntian's camp and asked, Yuan Shedu was not there. He left early in the morning. Yun Tian's vision turned black and he immediately turned around to return to the Chu family's courtyard. Yuan Shedu was standing in the sky above the Chu family, but no one could see him. This was the unique divine skill of the Ghost Hunter stealth. Ever since Yun Tian entered the Chu clan's courtyard, Yuan Shedu was standing right here. Thinking of what Yun Tian said last night, Yuan Shedu's heart burned. I guarantee it. She was definitely a peerless beauty. It's definitely a purine body. Yuan Shedu couldn't hold it in anymore. Ever since he came here, the godly source realm was sealed and he couldn't enter at all. He wanted to cultivate, but there was a mysterious guy who absorbed the essence of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth every day. He wanted to dual cultivate, but he came out in a hurry this time and didn't bring any female companions. He was already tired of it. He wanted to use the local resources, but this purple cloud city was really too barren. Even a beauty that caught his eye was useless. And he had to deal with the provocation of strangers every day. Yuan Shedu only felt that these days were extremely boring. In the words of the government, he was already bored out of his mind. When he heard this news, how could he not be tempted? He also suspected that this was a trap that Yun Tian had dug for the government. But he was immediately blinded by his desire. After investigating Chu Yang's information, he found out that he was a guy who had just ascended with dog shit luck. He was even more relieved. Wasn't it just a mysterious expert who asked you to do one thing? But why would such a mysterious expert offend the entire Mo Yun Tian for a small person like you? Besides, it was just a woman. Yuan Shedu was completely relieved. The sect's experts and elders had also advised him before, but Yuan Shedu was full of confidence. Don't worry, if it's really suitable, I will personally come out and discuss with that Chu Yang. I will give him enough face. I just want a woman. Would such a small person dare to not know what's good for him? Besides, I won't treat his woman badly. It's better than being by his side and being afraid of him, right? Besides, I'm not sure if I can take a fancy to his woman. Besides, a person like Chu Yang, if she's really a peerless beauty, can he keep her? Staying by his side will only cause trouble. The group of elders couldn't do anything about him, so they could only send people to protect him secretly. They also knew that Yuan Shedu's cultivation method was special. After coming here, he couldn't cultivate and was already close to the point of being burned by internal fire. His Jianghu had reached the point where he needed to find a purine female body to mediate. At most, we'll compensate Chuyang more after this. Everyone was in ghost territory and was used to this kind of thing. Besides, how could you get a favor from ghost territory just by giving away a woman? This Chuyang was able to get such an advantage because this was East Royal Sky. If this was Ink Cloud Sky, humph, he should be kowtowing and thanking them. Not long after Yun Tian and Chuyang went in, Yuan Shetu was searching one by one when the door opened. Two slender women walked out of the room. There was even a hint of laziness. It was Tai Budian and Wu Qianqian. After a night of cultivation, although the two women were still weak, their faces were glowing. Of course, Tai Budian didn't forget to hide her appearance. Even Wu Qianqian's face was darkened. But this still couldn't hide the peerless charm that was on the verge of being revealed. Especially when it was just moistened by rain and dew. That kind of languid amorous feeling was even more dazzling. Now, it was the first day of Wu Qianqian's arrival. It was also the first day of preparing to take over some things in the Chu clan. The two women didn't dare to sleep too much and woke up early. Tai Budian brought them out, talking and laughing. Yuan Shetu's eyes widened in an instant. It wasn't just one. It was two. Top quality. Both of them were top quality. Yuan Shetu's heart was burning. Perhaps others couldn't see the inner beauty of the two women and couldn't see through their disguises. But Yuan Shetu was a professional, and he had a special divine skill. Why can't I see it? These two women were of a much higher quality than the women that ZJ had ever had. They both had a purine body and were talented. This kind of woman was definitely the most beautiful of all. How could they be so mediocre? Yuan Shetu's heart was burning. Only his groin was restless. A strong hatred rose from his heart. These two women. They actually weren't chaste. This was simply a bastard. Such top-quality women. They actually let that Chuyang, who was worse than a dog's fart, take the lead? Do you think you deserve to have such a woman? What a waste of God's gifts. Yuan Shetu watched the two women walk away. He couldn't wait to jump down and strip them naked. But this was the Eastern Royal Sky. Once ZJ did that, the Eastern Royal Sky's government would step in. Moreover, this guy had Yen Russian as his backing. However, if they were to brazenly ask for it, promising great benefits would completely eliminate any future troubles. This guy was just a bumpkin who had just ascended. How much had he seen? I casually gave him some benefits, and this guy was so grateful that he offered the beauties to me with both hands. As soon as he thought of it, Yuan Shetu jumped out excitedly. He came to the entrance of the Chu clan's courtyard and asked to see Chuyang. He really couldn't tolerate it anymore. Chuyang was stunned when he received the report. Yuan Shetu of Moyun Heaven? I heard that he was also a young leader. What's going on? I received 3 last time and another one came this time. But why did this one come so late and it was a little sudden? He said, please come in. I'm Yuan Shetu. This is my first time visiting. Greetings, Brother Chu. Yuan Shetu's eyes flashed with a strange light. Brother Yuan, nice to meet you. Your presence brings light to my humble abode. Chuyang smiled warmly and welcomed Yuan Shetu into the living room. As for his bodyguards, he arranged for them to stay in the side room. Brother Chu is too courteous. I came here today for 2 reasons. Firstly, I wanted to see Brother Chu's face. Secondly, I sincerely want to make friends with Brother Chu. Brother Tian and the other 2 hold Brother Chu in high regard. Yuan Shulu's feminine voice was also very amiable. Walking into the living room, the 2 sat down as the host and guest. The maid served tea. The 2 talked and laughed, looking very harmonious. But Chuyang faintly felt that this guy was very hostile towards ZJ, and he should be very angry. It was as if he couldn't control himself. What's going on? Did I offend him? Brother Chu, you and I feel like old friends today. We really hit it off very well. Yuan Shetu took out a warm white jade box from his bosom. It was shining brightly and said, this is the first time we met. This is a gift for your wife. Chuyang reached out to receive it. Haha, this must be something good. I wonder what it is. Let me see. Yuan Shetu immediately retracted his hand and laughed. Brother Chu, this is not for you. You can't touch it. Brother Chu, please invite your wife to let me meet you, and then I will give you a gift to show my sincerity. A woman with a purine body was very rare. How could he let her stay with such a mortal? Chuyang laughed and said, Brother Yuan, I'm afraid you will be disappointed. Your sister-in-law is extremely ugly. She really can't be seen in public. It's better not to let her come out. Chu Yang's way of addressing him was remarkable. Your sister-in-law? If these words were said to Gu Duxing and the others, there would be no problem at all, because of their friendship. But for Yuan Shetu, it was a little too intimate. Moreover, Yuan Shetu was actually older than Chu Yang, but he kept calling Chu Yang brother Chu. For Yuan Shetu, this tone was just a humble courtesy. However, Chu Yang now regarded himself as the big brother. He didn't call Yuan Shetu my wife, but directly called Yuan Shetu your sister-in-law. He was sincerely taking advantage of Yuan Shetu. Your sister-in-law. It's your sister-in-law? Your sister-in-law is extremely ugly. Chu Yang thought viciously. To be continued. P.S. Continue to write the third update. Without saved manuscripts, it's so sad. Sigh, on Aoshi's birthday I was so excited that I posted all 5 manuscripts. And I even worked overtime to post 10 more. What made me hit the wall the most was that it wasn't even double. What made me hit the wall even more was that now they are competing for monthly votes. What made me hit the wall the most was that the sub-moderators and administrators didn't sympathize with me. Who told you not to save it? What made me hit the wall even more was their analogy. You can't keep cornbread in a doghouse. But, before hitting the wall you must ask for monthly votes. Chapter 1882. As soon as Yuan Shetu spoke, Chu Yang immediately understood that the prophecy Tai Butian's tribulation had come. Why was he still willing to let Tai Butian appear? This guy in front of him was obviously not a good person. He was a lecherous monster. From P. You want to see that person's wife the first time you visit him? Yuan Shetu's face stiffened. He said coldly, Does Brother Chu think that I'm not worthy to see your wife? He was impatient. You're just a small ant. How dare you reject me? You're really courting death. Chu Yang smiled faintly. It's really inconvenient for my wife to show her face. Chu Yang still looked amiable on the surface, but his heart was already filled with murderous intent. Yuan Shetu sneered. We're brothers. Is Brother Chu going to reject me when I want to see my sister-in-law? That would be too much of a waste of time. Since that's the case, then forget it. Chu Yang nodded and said, Indeed, it's not good enough. But I can only be mean this once. Since Brother Yuan said so yourself, you're really magnanimous. I'm relieved. Yuan Shetu's words were meant to force Chu Yang. However, he didn't expect Chu Yang to admit it directly. Thus he went with the flow and blocked this matter. He even complimented Yuan Shetu and completely sealed his words. Yuan Shetu was at a disadvantage. He was furious. He smiled evilly and said, Sister-in-law's wife must be a great beauty? No wonder Brother Chu is so reluctant to let her come out. You should keep the beauty for yourself. Chu Yang's smiling face suddenly sank. It was as if a storm was about to come. He said slowly, It doesn't matter if she's beautiful or not. The key is that she's my woman. Even if she's not beautiful, she's the most beautiful in my heart. Yuan Shetu sneered. Brother Chu is a sentimental person. Chu Yang's body leaned back. He lay on the chair and said softly, Sentimental is better than heartless. Yuan Shetu nodded slowly and said eerily, But what if I insist on seeing your wife today? If he asked for a normal meeting, he wouldn't allow it. Therefore, Yuan Shetu's words were purely meant to infuriate Chu Yang. As long as he acted up first, he could continue to act on the spot. Chu Yang's eyes were already flickering with cold light. He smiled and said, What if I don't let you see her? Yuan Shetu's eyes turned cold and he said lightly, Brother Chu, let's not beat around the bush. We are all men and we know each other. This little brother has taken a fancy to sister-in-law's wife. If Brother Chu has any conditions, please feel free to state them. As long as Brother Chu agrees, I guarantee that Brother Chu will live a life of luxury in the Heaven Tower. No one dared to provoke him. He will give Brother Chu 3 top-notch secret manuals of the sect as well as all the cultivation necessities. He will also be responsible for recommending Brother Chu to become a disciple of a famous teacher in the sect. Within 10 years he would become a saint. Within 100 years he would reach the Deva realm. What do you think? Yuan Shetu said a long list of conditions in a condescending tone. If it was someone else, including the people who Yuan Shu had contacted in the same way, any one of his conditions would be enough to make those people offer their wives. After all, in this world where the strong were respected, women were just a pastime. Strength was the most important thing. But considering that this was the Eastern Royal Heaven and Yuan Shetu himself was very willing, he simply gave out conditions that no one could refuse. In his opinion, Chu Yang's next step would be to immediately kneel on the ground and accept with tears of gratitude. Then he would return with a beauty in his arms. There was no doubt about this. Chu Yang's face turned completely cold and a murderous intent slowly rose from his body. He said slowly, "Brother Yuan, you must be joking. There is no room for discussion on this matter. Send him off." He actually gave the order to leave. He thought to himself, this guy should be Tai Buqian's biggest threat. How can I kill him? Yuan Shedu had dominated the black cloud heaven and was welcomed everywhere. When had he ever been asked to leave? With a sinister smile on his face, he nodded vigorously. Suddenly, he laughed lecherously and said, "It seems that sister-in-law's wife is not only beautiful, but also very good in bed. Otherwise, Brother Chu wouldn't cherish her so much and not be willing to share her with others. You don't even want to let others see her. But, Brother Chu, can you accept such good fortune?" There was no longer any concealment in this sentence. There was a kind of deliberate obscenity in it. There was also a strong sense of threat. "If you don't agree, I'll kill and snatch her away. She's still mine." The sentence was just short of saying it out loud. Chu Yang only felt a rush of anger. He crossed his legs and shook his body slowly. He said lightly, "Why is Brother Yuan so interested in other people's wives? Does Brother Yuan like to share the person beside you? Then why don't you introduce your wife to me first? Or introduce her to everyone? It's also convenient for me to see your wife's skills." Yuan Sheda's intention was undoubtedly very obvious. It was so obvious that as long as one was a man, he wouldn't be able to tolerate it. Chu Yang had tolerated it for a long time. He finally didn't want to tolerate it anymore. Damn it, let's do it. If a man could tolerate this, he really couldn't be considered a man. "You, impudent." Yuan Sheda was furious. "Motherfucker impudent." Chu Yang stood up suddenly and sneered, "Do you have to see other people's wives? Who the fuck do you think you are? You're not my son or grandson. Do you think you can see her just because you want to? Do you have that qualification? Bastard. If I don't scold you, why do you feel so good about yourself?" Bah. Chu Yang spat and scolded angrily, "Do you really think you're a tortoise just because you're a bastard? Fuck. You're a young leader with this kind of conduct. What kind of leader can you be? Go whoring as a leader. You're really shameless. I've just given you some face and you fucking want to open a dye house. Tell me, what else can a person like you do besides dyeing your own hat green? By the way, you seem to like to share with others. Your hat has already turned green. Light green, dark green, or dark green. Or maybe it's so green that it's turning black. You didn't become a leader by sharing, right? Otherwise, why would you ask to share as soon as you see me? I was wondering why you were so awesome. So it's because of your wife?" Yuan Shudu was so angry that his whole body trembled. He stared at Chu Yang and hissed, "You, say it again?" "Fuck." Chu Yang exclaimed, "There's actually someone who likes to be scolded. It's not enough to be scolded by me once. You actually want to listen to it again. You're really a bastard. Your skin is as hard as a bastard's shell. Unfortunately, even if you want to listen to it, I don't have the time. Do you think everyone has so many spitballs to play with you? Who the fuck are you?" Before Chu Yang's voice died away, Yuan Shudu had already roared angrily and jumped up. Wisps of black gas came out of his body. He shook his hand and grabbed at Chu Yang's head. His hand suddenly expanded, and the range of his attack was about half a foot. It was like a thunderbolt and he slapped down. Obviously this claw was meant to kill Chu Yang. One strike to kill, one strike to kill. Obviously he hated Chu Yang to the core. With this grab the force was formed. Wind blew in all directions and clouds came from all directions. The whole world was suddenly filled with the sound of ghosts. It seemed that at this moment the quiet and peaceful Chu clan courtyard had become hell. This Yuan Shudu wasn't very old, but he already had the cultivation of a martial saint. Chu Yang sat upright and didn't move. He just looked at Yuan Shudu with a cold smile and shouted. At the same time, 3 bright saber lights suddenly flashed. The 3 sabersmen slashed at Yuan Shudu without holding back. The cultivation of each of these 3 people was higher than Yuan Shudu. At this moment they joined hands and attacked together in a hurry. It was even more like lightning and thunder. At this moment, a white figure came in like lightning. It was Yun Tian. He had been anxious all the way. He had already used his fastest speed to rush here, but he was still 1 step behind. The situation had reached an irreconcilable point. "Please show mercy." Yun Tian turned pale with fright and cried out involuntarily. He didn't expect Chu Yang's trump card to be so sharp. It was sharp enough to kill Yuan Shudu with 1 strike. He originally thought that the best situation would be Yuan Shudu was about to kill Chu Yang, so he saved him and built a good relationship with Chu Yang. Then he could exchange for more resources. He didn't expect that the one who was in danger now was Yuan Shudu. Kill? Chu Yang ignored Yun Tian's arrival and dissuasion and ordered fiercely. Chu Yang's temper was like this. As long as you touched my bottom line, I would kill you regardless of who you were or how powerful you were. Since they were destined to be enemies, there was no need to be polite. He would kill all of them. Such a temper was really too impulsive. He didn't consider the consequences. Since Chu Yang's rebirth, he had rarely been so impulsive. He hadn't been angry for a long time. But this time Yuan Shudu insulted Tai Budian again and again. This completely touched Chu Yang's bottom line. Moreover, the sentence, "The path of 3 lives can mend the sky," made Chu Yang extremely sensitive. If he didn't kill Yuan Shudu today, it was hard to say whether Tai Budian could avoid this tribulation. Since it was a matter of life and death for Tai Budian, even if there were 10 Yuan Shudu, he would kill them all. Even if he had to roam the world from now on, Chu Yang wanted to kill Yuan Shudu. A long roar. There was a burst of mist in the space. A black figure suddenly appeared and blocked in front of Yuan Shudu. It blocked the space between Yuan Shudu and Chu Yang. Stop. A burst of lifeless black fog suddenly exploded. At this moment, 3 bright saber lights slashed into the black fog at the same time. In the black fog, the person who came later snorted angrily, "So ruthless." Subsequently, 3 metallic clanging sounds were heard. Lightning Snake and the others tumbled back. They stood still and stared at the black fog. P.S. I will continue to write the 4th update. Please vote. Chapter 1883. The black fog let out a muffled groan, followed by a low scream. Then it dissipated, revealing an old man in black and Yuan Shudu. There were 3 wounds on Yuan Shudu's body that were bleeding profusely. Although the saber didn't really cut him, the old man was still a little slower. The 3 saber energies had already severely injured Yuan Shudu. The 3 wounds exposed his internal organs. It could be clearly seen that Yuan Shudu's internal organs were already broken. With such injuries he would definitely die. Bang! A small puppet that looked like a purple jade in front of Yuan Shudu's chest suddenly shattered. It fell to the ground and turned into powder. From the powder, a ray of black light shot up into the sky. Yuan Shudu, who had been unconscious and on the verge of death, was no longer bleeding from his wounds. Even his pale face was gradually returning to normal. It's a substitute puppet. Lightning Snake's pupils shrank. Yun Tian also showed a surprised expression. He didn't expect that the 3 Sabermen's joint attack could actually kill Yuan Shudu once. A substitute puppet, as the name suggested, was a heaven-defying treasure that could block a fatal injury for its master. A substitute puppet wouldn't be activated for a normal injury that wouldn't endanger one's life. Once the substitute puppet was activated, it meant that Yuan Shudu had already died once. Therefore, the substitute puppet would be activated and die for him. This was the most important function of a substitute puppet. This function was really heaven-defying. The old man who came later was trembling all over. His face turned green and white. He had already blocked the 3 Sabermen, but he still couldn't block the saber energy that was full of death. This was already a great dereliction of duty. Little, you're so vicious. How dare you? The old man turned to look at Chu Yang, his eyes gloomy. It seemed that he was about to launch a desperate counterattack. Chu Yang stood up calmly. He didn't even look at Yuan Shudu and ignored the old man. He said to Yun Tian casually, "Brother Yun, you came at the right time. Tomorrow night, Heavenly Armament Pavilion will hold the 2nd auction. There are priceless treasures, legendary weapons, and medicine that can bring the dead back to life. There are also some super treasures that you can't imagine. Please help me inform the sections." Yun Tian and the old man were startled. The old man was about to attack, but he stopped. Chu Yang said lightly, "But Brother Yun, please inform the sects that Mo Yun Tian won't be part of this auction. If Mo Yun Tian appears in the auction, this auction will be cancelled immediately." This. Yun Tian was startled. "Brother Chu, this matter, please think more about it." "There's no need to think." Chu Yang's eyes emitted an ice-cold light as he said coldly, "In addition, if Brother Yun's message can't be conveyed, I'll inform you. The Extreme Heavens qualification will also be cancelled. This cancellation is by a long time. Brother Yun, do you hear me?" Yun Tian was stunned for a moment before he smiled bitterly. "Brother Chu, I'm afraid you've misunderstood me. Today's events are by unexpected. His lackey was also extremely shocked and hurried over to stop him. I was still a step too late. This was beyond my expectations. Everything. Chu Yang smiled faintly and interrupted Yun Tian's explanation. His voice was even more elegant as he said in a clear voice, "Brother Yun, the word, idiot, isn't carved on my forehead, and neither is the word, idiot, on your forehead. You and I are both well aware of what happened today. However, now is not the time for us to shed all pretense of cordiality. So, if Brother Yun is smart enough, you should be more honest. Why waste those unnecessary spittle?" Yun Tian's face showed a hint of anger. Then he shook his head and smiled bitterly. He naturally knew what Chu Yang meant. I even dared to kill Yuan Shetu. Then do you think I don't dare to kill Yun Tian? Since I've already been impulsive once, what's the harm in being impulsive a second time? This sentence was obviously warning Yun Tian. If you want to behave atrociously, I'll keep you company. I'll keep you company till the end. After that, Chu Yang smiled faintly. He turned his head to look at Yuan Shetu, who was still in a state of shock. He chuckled softly and slowly raised his hand. He stretched out his index finger and pointed it at Yuan Shetu's forehead. He said clearly, "If you don't die today, your ancestors' graves will be smoking. Yuan Shetu, I'll kill you with my own hands in the future." Chu Yang's tone was cold. His eyes flashed with crazy killing intent. His gaze was like lightning. Yuan Shetu's current cultivation was undoubtedly much higher than Chu Yang's. But at this moment he didn't dare to look into Chu Yang's eyes. He was intimidated by Chu Yang's aura and could only turn his head to avoid the sharp edge. But when he realized that he was showing weakness, he hurriedly turned around and wanted to retort. However, he heard Chu Yang sneer. The black-robed elder said angrily, "Little one, you're so vicious and rampant. Our ghost hunter will never let you go." Chu Yang turned around slowly and looked at him indifferently. He sneered and said, "Now I'll say it in front of you. Your ghost hunter is just a fart in front of me. Do you dare to kill me? Do you dare to touch me?" The elder gritted his teeth, but he really didn't dare to move. Although Chu Yang almost killed Yuan Shetu just now, although Chu Yang clearly said that Mo Yun Tian couldn't participate in the auction because of obvious discrimination and humiliation, he really didn't dare to move now. Because this auction was what all the super sects were looking forward to. They wouldn't allow anyone to spoil it. If he killed Chu Yang now, he would probably be besieged by all the big sects. Moreover, he would have to face the full force of the Eastern Royal Heavens official forces. If it really reached that stage, the people from the Ghost Hunter would probably be wiped out here. He couldn't bear such a serious consequence no matter what. Therefore he was so angry that he was about to explode, but he couldn't move at all. He didn't dare to move at all. Then Chu Yang looked up and laughed coldly. He turned around and strode away without any hesitation. A cold voice sounded and 2 words fell like ice beads, "See the guests out." Then the 3 great swordsmen snorted and put their swords back into their sheaths. They looked at the 3 people coldly and left without saying a word. "He's too much." The elder who came later was furious. "He doesn't put our ghost hunter in his eyes at all." Yun Tian looked at him with pity and said indifferently, "He doesn't even put our Sky Sword Alliance in his eyes, let alone your ghost hunter. What qualifications do you have for him to put you in his eyes?" The elder said angrily, "Are we just going to let this matter go like this?" Yun Tian said indifferently, "Unless you can represent your ghost hunter. Moreover, you have to bear the risk of going against the other 8 heavens. Otherwise, before the auction ends, no one will allow anything to happen to Chu Yang. If you don't want to let it go like this, we can only let it go like this. Can you? Do you dare? Therefore, everything will have to wait until the auction ends." Yun Tian turned around and left. "Remember? During this period, if you dare to cause trouble again, our extreme heavens will be the first to kill you." Today's matter was very different from his original plan. But Yun Tian could only let it go. Although there was a suspicion of him changing his orders. It was inevitable that his credibility wasn't good, but for the long-term plan of thousands of years, Yun Tian knew better than anyone how to choose. "Yun Tian, wait a minute." Yuan Shetu finally caught his breath. Yun Tian turned around slowly. "What's the matter?" Yuan Shetu stared at him. "This Chu Yang, I'm afraid he's not just a simple shopkeeper of an auction house, right?" He finally felt that something wasn't right. Yun Tian laughed and shook his head. "Does Brother Yuan think that Chu Yang is still the son of the great celestial emperor? Brother Yuan should have investigated Chu Yang's news clearly. Otherwise, I'm afraid you wouldn't have come today, right? Information is information." Yuan Shetu's eyes flickered with black light, somewhat ferocious. Yun Tian, you've dug a hole for me? A small shopkeeper of an auction house. He definitely wouldn't have 3 great celestial being experts protecting him. Not to mention in such a remote place like Wuxia City. The moment the 3 great swordsmen appeared, Yuan Shetu understood immediately. Yuan Shetu instantly understood, but it was already too late. The hatred was already irreconcilable. He thought. He could negotiate with such a small person like Chu Yang. He had already given him enough face. As for the woman, wasn't she still a plaything? Handing over a plaything could curry favor with him, who was a super important person to Chu Yang, why not? So Yuan Shetu didn't have any scruples from the beginning. But he never thought that he would punch an iron plate full of barbs. If someone said that Yun Tian had never schemed against him, Yuan Shetu wouldn't believe it even if he died. Moreover, Yun Tian's attitude had taken a 180-degree turn. This made Yuan Shetu even more convinced that he had been cheated by Yun Tian. Dug a hole for you? Yun Tian smiled faintly. Are you worthy? He turned and left. His clothes fluttered and he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Yun Tian, I'll remember you. From now on, you and I are irreconcilable. I, Yuan Shetu, will definitely repay you generously for today's matter. Yuan Shetu gritted his teeth. I'll wait for you. Yun Tian's voice floated over. From this moment on, the 2 young leaders completely broke off their relationship. Both of them knew that after this matter, the 2 super sects of heaven and earth would no longer have the chance to be friends. I'm afraid this Chu Yang isn't very simple. The black-robed elders sighed. Could Chu Yang be a great celestial emperor? This sentence was originally said by Yun Tian. Yuan Shetu repeated it at this moment, filled with a kind of ruthlessness. No matter who he is, after the soul-suppressing stone incident is over, I'll take Chu Yang alive on the road. I want to play with his wife in front of him. Play with him for a generation. Let him see for a generation. Yuan Shetu's anger soared to the sky. He turned his anger into endless imagination, fantasizing about how to deal with Chu Yang and everything related to Chu Yang. Chu Yang's anger also soared to the heavens. This time he was really angry. Although he knew that the 2 super sects of heaven and earth were definitely not people he could afford to offend, and he also knew that the so-called mysterious expert entrusted the auction could only protect him for a while, Chu Yang couldn't care so much now. P.S. Today is the birthday of this group of Once Upon a Vast Sea little sisters. Vast Sea is a very cute little girl. I hope everyone can wish her a happy birthday. Happiness will follow you forever. Every year there will be a day like this. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.